Welcome to Middle Fingers Up, the show where we hold our heads high and our middle fingers higher. I'm your host, Kiran McKay. Today, I'm so excited to share that I am sitting down with Andrew Uyeno, host of the Andrew Uyeno Afternoon Drive show on Virgin Radio here in YYC. You may know Andrew for his infectious laugh, to his community involvement and his humor, such as getting Toonie Tuesday back at KFC. He's also bringing joy to our lives by wearing outrageous costumes, which we will get deeper into later. However, I feel the word that has me, as well as I'm sure others, tuning into his show is Konnichiwa. So, Andrew, Akaal, welcome. Wonderful having you here today.
Akaal. I know how to respond to this. I forget. I was going to bother me.
Well, Akaal means hello, but are you thinking like, what would you say back? Like I'm good?
Akaal. Yeah. Is it?
Like Gidda?
Yeah.
Gidda means like, how are you?
Yeah.
Tika.
That's it. Because we have this woman who cleans at the studio and she's been teaching me a little bit.
Oh,
yeah, a little bit. So she call, and then I forget now.
Well, if you say it in English, I might be able to help you.
Yeah, I forget. But Tika I know is good. Yeah.
My 9-year-old is learning Punjabi too, and he asks me, so I'll say "Kidda fair," which means like in a cool way, like "How are you?"
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be like "Tika," and my parents love it every time we're on the phone together. Like, oh my god, he's saying it. So I love that you're learning that. That's awesome.
And I also used to. Like board op for a community radio station, and it was primarily Punjabi.
Yeah.
So like I would eventually I don't remember now, but I remember I would know like goodbye and thank you, because I would have to like get rid of the caller or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So those are the words I picked up.
Jagga fair sometimes is like, okay, see you later.
Yeah. But konnichiwa. Yeah. Sorry, I was rambling.
I love it. I just want to share, and I know I don't mean to make this like about me, but the story is really talking about the wonderful person you are. If I could just share how we met for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so today, like I said, having you here is a proud moment, and one of the reasons is because to me you're kind of a big deal. You host a radio show in the afternoon. You're not, starting out middle of the night kind of a time. Like you got a nice afternoon, drive home with us. So that's sort of how I started listening to you. And it was during COVID. I was an essential worker, so I'd have to drive to and from work, listen to your show. And I always loved it because I didn't know what you look like. I didn't know that you were, as you call yourself, a half Asian, half white. I just thought you were some white guy on the radio. I'm like, how cool is it in Calgary that some white guy on the radio is saying Konnichiwa? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, I get that a lot, though.
Yeah, I was like, okay, right?
Yeah,
and so I'm like, that's so cool. And then I looked you up because sometimes, when you listen to radio hosts, you can only imagine what they look like for so long. Yeah. Now you're like, I'm like, I gotta know what he looks. So I'm like, oh, he's Asian. This is so cool. And then it was like just after like the major time of COVID. The Flames were in the playoffs. And you had people, was it last year?
Yeah.
It's just, that timeline with COVID is so hard to know. Was it last year, 2 years ago? And you had people calling in saying, go Flames, go in their language. And I don't know if it was like an emotional day or what, but I was in my car with my kid and I just thought, how cool is this? Having this guy on the radio, like you choose to share your voice on the radio, I think, in a powerful way. And being a minority, having you on there, and I love that you're mixed. I think that's even better, to be honest, that you lean into your minority culture, as well as you have people in Calgary, and those of us that live in Calgary know that we're not the most diverse, calling in all the languages. And it just so happened to be that someone said in Hindi, which is like a sister language to my language. So my kid and I were like, oh my God, they're saying go Flames go. How cool is that? And so I thought, okay, this is so cool. And then a few months later, I was starting this podcast thing and I was like, I'm going to ask Andrew Uyeno to come on my show. And I tried to email you through the iHeartRadio way. But it was like this process. It goes to headquarters, and I was like, I'm not asking the Virgin Radio host to come on. I want to talk to Andrew. So I did what most crazy 41-year-old moms that pick up their kids after school that probably listen to your show would do. Got into my garage, and I'm like, I'm going to call the contest line, because I've been on a contest on the radio before. I know how this works. So I call the contest line. I'm like, he's going to answer. So I'm in my garage. Andrew answers. And I'm like, let me do my, do you remember? I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember this conversation?
Yeah, I do. I was shaking my head, but no one could see that.
Right. I was like, I'm going to sound like a crazy lady. Just give me a couple minutes. I know you're probably between like whatever being on air. I'm going to give you an elevator spiel. I'm a no one starting this podcast. Here's my dream. Want to reach out to minorities, want to help people talk about their mental health, do it in a fun way. Do you want to come on my show? And at that time, I was just about to release my first episode. And this goes to the part about the wonderful human you are. You have no idea who I am. You got your own thing going on. And you go check out my little Instagram page. I'm new at this whole Instagram world too. And you, within 5 minutes, email me back and say, let's do this. And now we're sitting here. So this is like really, really nice to have you in the room, in this little room, to talk about not just the fact that you're kind of a big deal, but also the fact that you're humble. Why you do what you do, and two minorities sitting in a room together talking about my mental health. And I like to talk. You like to talk. You're way further ahead at the whole talk radio thing than I am, but I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. Is that sort of what you remember too?
Yeah,
crazy
100%.
Phone call?
Yeah. No, not crazy at all.
Minute,
no. I ramble, so you're gonna have to reel me in. Yeah, but
maybe Chelsea can, because your lovely girlfriend Chelsea is sitting here.
Yeah,
maybe she can help reel us in.
No, so I think with anything in general, if you have a dream and you want something, I think just reach out and go get it. I think that's what stops a lot of people, is a lot of people have this preconceived notion, or they have this like barrier in their head. They're like, oh, that would be awesome if X, Y, and Z did this with me, but I'm not going to reach out because they would never say yes.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't take the shot, you never know. And I'm not saying I'm a big deal, but I'm just mean like just anything in general. Like, I remember when I was starting out in college, I would send demos out of like radio bits I would do in college to different radio stations across North America. And I probably sent like in a semester probably 500 emails. I was sending like 20, 30 emails a day just to random radio stations I've never heard in my life. Like the Frog in Minnesota. You know what I mean? Florida. And I would have people like email me back from all these different places. And now, granted, out of let's say like 500 DMs or emails or whatever, you'll probably get one answer. But you only need one answer. You don't need that many.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think what stops a lot of people from doing this is this idea of, oh, well, they're not going to want to help me, or they're not going to want to, you know. And I don't know if you know of the entrepreneur Gary V.
No.
He's big on social media, but he's a big entrepreneur, and he always says that like if you have a dream, you should be reaching out to these mentors in their DMs and be like, hey, how can I help? How can I do this? Because you never know when someone's going to be like,
I agree.
You know what I mean? So especially with social media, it's so close now. Like you have access to, if we really wanted to, we had access to Chris Hemsworth's phone just by DMing him.
Well, that's a challenge I will accept. Let me get back to you.
DMs.
I'll give him a call.
Eventually, he'll.
I tried reaching out to Justin Bieber a million times. He will not respond back.
He hasn't hit you back?
So, I'm trying. But that's my life. So my husband will come home and be like, what'd you get up to today? I'm like, well, I worked up the courage to email these two people. There's a couple of authors that I got into South Asian writers recently. And there's a few authors that I'm like, how did you know my life story? It's like, they wrote this book for me. I kind of give them a couple weeks. Like I did that with you too, because I don't want to come off like some crazy lady, but I also feel like that look goes really well for me too. I do it well. So I reached out to my kid the other day. We're listening to the radio, and Lizzo, and I think it was your time, Lizzo comes on, and he's like, you know what? You should reach out to Lizzo. This is my 9-year-old. I'm like, why would I reach out to? He's like, she's black. She's singing, and you listen to her song. You know, it's the one about something I'm whatever bitch or whatever she says in there. He's like, Mom, you never know. You should reach out to her. And I'm like, Terrence, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to say? He's like, no,
see, your son
you
knows.
need to do it. So there's a few people that I have reached out to.
Good.
Because I love this little project. I didn't expect anything. I thought maybe one or two of us will get together and have conversations, and now I have you on here. So this is amazing. And it's all because we all care about our well-being. We care about the community's well-being. We care about helping people get to a place where they want to start talking about what's going on. And I think COVID, I keep saying COVID was an interesting time for a lot of us in all sorts of ways, losses, realizations, new changes, all sorts of stuff. And I think that little beat that we had to take has sort of gotten a lot of us thinking about wanting to talk. So I appreciate the feedback people are giving. I love that you're here. And I'd love to.
Thank you for having us.
Yay! Yeah, I know. I want to do my little MFU segment with you.
We'll do whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna do all the things. It's my show.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Andrew Uyeno just said
it's your show.
It's my show. So I'm so excited. So I do a little segment called Middle Fingers Up.
Okay.
I'd like to know, what do you want to put your middle fingers up to, Andrew?
Okay. Long-winded answer, but normally I don't swear, so I'm not going to swear. But I don't give too many, I guess, F words to many things. And I learned that through my boss and through a book that he writes. He loves. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Yeah. And now I'm not going to lie and say I read the book. I read like barely a chapter. But in that barely chapter, I learned that... and my boss always preaches that you only have so many F words to give a day. Yeah. So you want to give them to things that matter. So it's like, if you're stuck in traffic, does that person cutting me off really get one of my, when I should be giving that to family, friends, whatever.
Right.
But I will give one because I want to take part in the spirit of the show. And I don't want to ruin anything, but
you don't have to.
No,
you can
I will.
Bring your own twist to
I will to the scheme of things. I guess racism and when snow gets in your shoe, and then your sock gets wet, but you can't change socks. Yeah, that's the worst. And also racism. Okay, that's also bad.
We're gonna like get back to racism. We're gonna talk about that. But let's just start with the sock thing, because yesterday I had to change my socks twice. Because I cannot walk around, even in my house, when they get wet under there. So when you're out in public,
I have a problem with I have very sweaty feet, and it's not a new secret. I say that on air all the time. I say that to everybody all the time. This is a secret though. It's so sweaty sometimes I have to take my socks off at work, and so I'll put them on the heater, and I'll turn the heat up so they dry by the time I'm done. And now my fear is, and this is my secret fear, is that I forget them because I'm very
oh my God.
I have very bad focus to detail problems. And I have a fear that I will forget them, and the morning show will come in and see my gross, drying, sweaty socks. So that's a fear of mine. But yeah, I have very sweaty feet, hands.
So it's never happened.
So not yet, knock on wood. But
so how do you, wait 1 second. How do you, that's a stressful thing, right? That's a legit thing. I would hate to forget that. So what do you do to remember? Do you have a timer?
No, I have
tie a thread around your finger.
I have OCD, and so with my OCD, I'm very paranoid, and I always will take videos of everything. So when I leave the house, I'll take a video of the oven. If I leave the house, I'll take a video of the faucet so I know it's not running. If I take a video of my cat to make sure she's in the thing. I'll take a video leaving the studio, making sure everything's good. So that's how and I don't even really watch them, just knowing it's there.
Yeah.
In my mind, as I know it's okay, everything's all good.
Yeah, because then you can let it go.
Then I'll have to think about it. Yeah, that was one of the things that and it's probably something I still got. It's definitely something I still got to work on. But it's one of those things that I learned because I would just spend all day worrying about it. I'm like, oh my God, my oven, and I've been at work for 8 hours. I'm like, well, my apartment's burnt up by now. If it doesn't on, yeah. So there's no point in worrying. You know what I mean? So I just I've tried to come up with these things that I can do that I can kind of just ease my mind a little bit.
That is what the mom from Home Alone probably should have done.
100%. Take a video of,
right?
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, when she was sitting on the plane.
Yep.
That feeling that we can all relate to.
Yep.
And maybe for you, it's to a different degree. For a lot of us, it's like, you sit there and can't let go. The garage door or straightening iron or whatever it is, a coffee pot. And so that's smart. That's so smart.
Thank you.
No, it is. It's like so smart. I've never even thought of that in my head.
Well, it's not even to look at it. It's just the fact knowing it's there. It's like I feel more safe about it, you know?
Why not?
Yeah.
You can delete it later.
Or it's like, for example, like if you leave the house and your husband's still here and then you're thinking about like, I don't know, the kettle you left on, you just text, hey, did I leave the kettle? You know what I mean? It's like that same sort of like vibe is like, at least you know that you're good. You can keep going on with your day.
Yeah, totally. So, okay, well, I thank you for sharing that one. And I appreciate that you participated in.
Of course.
It's middle fingers up to things that we want to, there's a good spin to it.
Yeah.
Things that we want to get off our chest.
No, I like it.
And I'm happy to know that you don't swear because
I don't.
I did tell you before we started recording that I do.
That's
so
okay.
I have to apologize.
No,
now.
don't.
But
Don't apologize.
I'm going to challenge myself and see
if you can
how
do
many swear words I can. So I'm going to like keep a tally on my piece of paper.
I've been doing it for 6 years now. Not swearing. I used to swear. It's because going back to the whole worrying and paranoid thing is I am always afraid that I'll slip up because there's a lot of radio announcers, just like most people, when they're in professional settings, you're not going to swear, right? But then afterwards, you're probably like with your friends, you'll start swearing, right?
Yeah.
And my thing is I was too worried that let's say one day I'm really tired, or one day I'm really hungry, or one day whatever, that it comes out. But if I get rid of it in my vocabulary, that's not a word I'll go to if I'm tired or whatever. Another word will come out.
What is it?
I don't know. Great question. It's probably just me stumbling over words because I have dyslexia. So I jumble words all the time.
I should have had Chelsea recording right now because I would love to ask her a bunch of follow-up questions about this. So maybe afterwards.
She's a saint. She puts up with all my quirkiness.
Yeah. You have to say that because she's in the room.
Yeah.
So I don't have to talk nice about my husband.
He's not here. It's not a hockey tournament.
Exactly. So, so I want to come back to the middle fingers thing. So I'm going to put my middle fingers up to. I was at a lunch recently with my husband and two other people that he works with. And something came up about racism. So it's funny that because this is literally what my middle finger up is too.
I thought it was going to be a funny thing. Now
I know,
it seems like
honestly,
it's going to be a serious thing.
Today I didn't go with a funny one today, and which sucks because I have a big goal here, and I don't know if you read what my number one goal for today was.
No.
Okay, I'll let you read it later. If I achieve it, I'll let you read it.
Go for it.
But it's not going to be a funny one. So I want to put my middle finger up to when you tell someone that you had. You tell someone a story about that guy that said that really inappropriate thing to you, or that passive aggressive feeling that you got from someone who's clearly choosing to not help you because of your color or whatnot. Yeah. And so I was telling a story along those lines to my husband and the couple, and he already knew the story, to the other two people at lunch. And the woman sitting next to me, she looks at me and she's like, oh, like that still happens? And so I immediately was like, okay, this isn't the place to I'm really working hard over the years about how I want to leave people in a conversation. Like if I had a superpower, I would want it to be an influencer. Like I want to, and not like a sexy model on Instagram influencer. I'm just like, so that when I talk, people feel inspired and influenced. That would be like the best superpower. Yeah. So I'm really working hard on not just yelling at people and telling them where to go. And so that would have been a moment that I would have loved to, but I'm glad I didn't, because we got into a conversation about what happens, right? An opportunity. Like what happens when you say that to someone, especially a minority. She was white, and everyone at the table was white. Because then I did make a passive aggressive joke. I did say, sit all the white people at the table, because that's what I get all the time is, that still happens, or I can't believe
not
we're
as
in
a big of a deal as you make it seem like. Yeah, right. Oh, I don't think that happened. Yeah. Like I've heard it all. Yeah, he didn't. You look white, so that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different for you, right? Because you're half white. I'm sure you get that, because that's the world that I'm raising my boys in. They're half too of you can't. You have to be you're protecting both cultures, and you have to be really mindful, because those cultures will clash sometimes.
I think with being like mixed is you're not white enough for some people and you're not Asian for others. And I think that is like very confusing, especially when I was younger, because it's like so many people were telling me I'm Asian, but then there were so many other people telling me I'm not Asian enough. Yeah. So then it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, because it's like, recently I put out a TikTok not too long ago, just talking about racism, kind of, and a lot of people in it were like, "Oh, you look white anyways," and like that's one of those things where it's like it upsets me, because it's like, well, my entire life I was told I'm not white, and now to just help your point, you're just saying I look white. You know what I mean? Like that discredits everything that I've gone through and everything that I've had to face, and family and of other people of color. And it's like, you don't get to tell me, like, I think when I was younger, I let people tell me what I was. And now that I've embraced who I am and I'm proud to be Asian, I'm not going to let you tell me who I am anymore. Like, I am Asian. If you don't think so, that's your prerogative. That's fine. Yeah. But there are plenty of people who do, for good or bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So like, I think when it comes to people that are two different cultures, I think that is something you do face being younger. At least I did. And a lot of friends of mine as well, is that you have an identity crisis, because some people will tell you you're one thing, and then the others will tell you you're not enough.
Well, yeah, you have to fit their into their box of where you need to be.
Stereotypes or whatever.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it was growing up with first generation. I was first generation. My parents were immigrants when they came. My dad was really young when he came. And my mom literally came to get married. Classic arranged marriage story. And so my siblings and I were first generation. And it was so interesting because I was the darkest in my household. So I and even my cousins, like I'm just like the really dark one. And so you already go through identity crisis as a young adolescent, especially in 13, 14. That's kind of when we're like, who am I? What do I want to do? But then you throw in the other complicating factors, as you're talking about. And so for me, it would be that I was too dark. So we go to India and I get told, oh, you'd be really hard to marry off because you have to look light, as if you don't work. You're out of the sun. So it's like a caste system. So if I'm dark, I look like I would be one of the workers, quote unquote. And so that's not, we couldn't marry you. So I grow up with this complex that I want to be a white girl. So I had the white girl complex, all the Cosmos and everything that you read, right, is like the pretty white girls and they all look this certain way. And so I'm like wearing sweatpants and sweatshirts and toques in the summer because I also tan really quick, so I get even darker.
I hear that.
And my mom, it's so funny, I bring her up in every episode. And I remember her saying to me, first of all, white people pay to get tanned, so chill. And then I was like, oh, okay. Then she's like, second of all, some white guy's gonna find you so attractive one day. Seriously, like, you need to get over it, right? And maybe that's not the best thing or whatever thing, but in the moment, it was so helpful because it was like, yeah, what am I gonna do? Like, So I hear what you're saying because my kids now are in that same boat of. We live in a very white community, and so they look lighter as well. So they look whiter than they do Indian. But
beautiful kids, by the way.
Oh, well, Carrie and I, one thing we did well was make those kids. Thank you. Well,
welcome.
The Mixies are always really cute kids, I have to say.
Adorable babies.
They are. They really are. Yeah. Yeah, so now with them, it's helping them understand, okay, you're also half brown. You're also half white. So how do you? I think what I know now is maybe maybe your parents' generation didn't know either, because they would have had to, that generation, deal with being an interracial relationship, which in my time was difficult. I would imagine in their time, and maybe not as much for the Asian community. I know for the Indian community that's always been a big deal. It's I think a little better now, but still the families want to keep the cultures great. So.
Well, my family's been here for a very long time. Like my Asian side of my Japanese side of the family's been here for. I'm probably third or fourth generation. Like, I've been here quite a long time. Like, my grandparents were born here. Yeah. My great grandparents, they moved. Like, my great grandpas both moved here to work in the gold rush. So we've been here for quite some time. Yeah. So I think my grandma was very open You know what I mean? Because she's Canadian.
Yeah.
So like she's open to that, of course. And my mom and dad, they definitely had struggles for sure. Like it's so funny. So all my uncles are married like Caucasian women.
Oh,
because they're second generation, right? So that's and I think especially back then, there's probably even less of a community of where they grew up, with people that look like them. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that they were probably, well, for talking to my dad, like they were definitely some of the only Asian people friends that they knew. They were probably the only Asian people in their friend group or at schools or whatever back then, and at the edge of Toronto. So they all married Caucasian women, and so all of the grandkids are mixed, and it's so funny because like my dad and I don't know if my grandma did this on purpose, but they all have very like non-Japanese names. Like my dad's Brian, Eugene, Michael, David, right? All very like, but like, they definitely had issues. Like, I don't know how it was for my uncles and aunts, but for my mom, she was she's adopted. My mom's adopted.
Okay.
And, she was adopted by an Italian and a German couple, and they adopted, I don't know if they couldn't have kids or what was the story, but they adopted 5 children.
Oh, wow.
So my mom's
Were they all siblings or?
No. So 2 sets of twins and one by themselves.
Right.
So my aunt and my mom are identical twins.
Oh.
Then my uncle and my other aunt are identical twins. And then my Uncle Lee. And so, my grandma was from Germany, and so she, lack of a better word, is very racist, and did not like that my mom was marrying an Asian person at all. I remember my Uncle Tim. It's like my mom's kind of estranged from that family. My mom and my aunt, because my mom and aunt, they live 5 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
They'll hang out every single day and then go home, talk for 4 hours. And I'm like, what are you talking?
Sisters.
Yeah, they're attached at the hip, right?
Yeah.
They're very close.
Yeah.
So when my mom got kicked out of the family because she married an Asian man, my aunt also left.
Oh.
But with that, my uncle, like I never really saw my other uncles or my aunt. And until I didn't even know I had an Uncle Tim until I got to like, I think it was in high school. And he got kicked out of the family because he started realizing all these terrible things that his mom was doing, and it was not okay. And starting to realize, like, wow, like maybe we're not nice to Nikki and her husband and whatever. And so I didn't really know him. So when I was in high school, he would take me to swim class, and we were starting to get introduced because he just married someone at that time. He married later and was having a baby. And I think, I don't know, maybe like him becoming a dad made him softer. I don't know. But he was starting to think maybe his wife was like, hey, why aren't you talking to your family? Whatever. Yeah. So I remember he drove me to swim class one day, and he was like, hey, Andrew, I got to apologize to you. I was like, why? I just kind of met you in the last like week.
And you're doing me a favor.
Yeah, I know. Why do you? Yeah, exactly. And he was like, no, when your dad first came over to meet the family to have dinner, we all sat around the table and made Asian jokes. And I have to apologize for that.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I'm not the one you should be apologizing to, but I appreciate it.
Right.
And so they definitely had their struggles. Like, when I was born, my grandma refused to hold me because of my skin color. So I never really grew up. So my Asian grandma and grandpa really took me in, and I was really, really close with them. But
so you didn't get a chance to get to know your mom's mom?
Not really, no.
Hey.
And so my mom is very big-hearted woman. So she always tries to like think the best. So, and it's her mom, right?
Yeah.
And so she, even after all that, after she was after I was born, she went over to stay with her for the first week or so, and apparently it was just awful. Yeah. And so my mom, I think, called my other grandma crying, and my grandma was like, come over, we'll take care of you.
Her mother-in-law?
Yeah. So she came over, and then I was basically raised by my grandparents and my parents, but like I was like both my parents worked, so I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. Right. So I was very, 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 very close with them. Yeah. And because of, I think, the other side. Yeah. So yeah, they definitely faced a lot, and I think my mom is very in that, so to speak, very open-minded to a lot of things.
Right.
Like she's big into women's rights. Mm-hmm. She's big into equal rights. She's big into understanding racism because she's seen it through my dad and seen it like how it affects both sides and seeing the things that he goes through and hearing the things I go through. So they've definitely faced a lot for sure. But now they live in Mississauga, so it's a very, if you don't know, it's right outside Toronto. It's a big suburb.
I went to a Scarborough this summer for a wedding.
There you go. There you go.
You know, drove by Brampton.
Yeah,
and,
there you go.
Yeah, then went into T-Dot.
See?
So
you're cultured.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so Mississauga, it's very multicultural out there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much like growing up, it was still becoming a city, and I remember farm fields near where we grew up, but now there's nothing, just apartment buildings. But so now it's very like so many different cultures there that it's not really a thing. But definitely when they were first going through it, they definitely were long-winded to say, yes, they went through a lot of things. And but they're, you probably know the same thing with your parents. Like they never really talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think like it's they never like they just put their head down and they work and they make a life for us and they make a way for us, and they don't complain and they don't really talk about like those things. Like for example, my grandparents, they were interned during World War II because they're Japanese, and they got everything taken away from them, their homes, all their money, and they were put into a camp. Even though they were born here, they're Canadian, but because of their skin color, they had to go to camp. And that's where my grandma blames the camps for my great-grandpa dying, because he got really sick in camp, and so they took him back to Japan right after the war so he could die in his
home
country. Yeah. So, but yeah, they never really talked about it too much. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'm starting to learn that my dad and I talk about racism a lot. And he's someone I'm able to like vent to, and somebody that gets it and talks to me with it. But like for the most part, like the older generation doesn't talk about it. So like you would not know it happens.
Right. Yeah.
Because they don't speak out. So like to make a full circle back to that conversation you were having at lunch, that might be, I think, and I've thought about this recently, I think that's also one of the reasons why certain groups of people don't think it exists, because for so long there were so many different groups of minorities that don't say anything because they're just here to make a life. They don't want to stick their head out and have it get cut off. You know what I mean? They just put their head down and work for us. And I saw an interesting.
Well, they're figuring it out too. Like,
exactly.
I think sometimes, and I'd say this too. I said this in a few episodes. Like I told my parents before recording that I'm going to talk about some of how I grew up. And none of it is to blame or what, but it's to start talking. Yeah. And they get it. They get it. We've done our work together. They get it. Yeah. And one of the things though is I find that when you immigrate from any country, you come over to North America, you're grieving your cultural customs, you're learning something new. Yeah. And then if you have children in this country, like myself, I'm going to learn all that because it's it's what I'm growing up in. It's what my passport says. I'm Canadian. Yeah. So I'm going to be so much further ahead than my parents. And I think that part of sometimes where you don't get to have those conversations because we're growing up in a different world than they're bringing us up in. Yeah. And they're trying to manage some of these things. And so we can see sometimes why the shift is in the way it is. And I would love if, even for young people to go back and interview your parents. Sometimes we're angry at our parents because they did stuff to us. They're angry parents. They weren't around. Some parents work out of town. They're working multiple jobs, all sorts of reasons why kids, my kids will have their fresh reasons in a couple of years why they hate me. It happens. I think, though, as part of our healing, though, as adults, it's helpful to go back and have those conversations in the best way we can to make amends with some of that and help little Kiran or little Andrew or whoever go back and just understand that as we're growing, they're growing. Yeah. Right?
And I think, that's why it's great you're doing what you're doing. And I think the first generations or the second generations or the third generation Canadians of immigrant families are like talking, and they're making a way, and they're doing these things, and they're having these fundraisers, and they're raising awareness. And because I heard an interesting quote by Hassan Minhaj, and he said that our parents fought for us to survive, and now we're fighting for us to speak. Yeah. And I think that's huge to me, because it's like, like for so long growing up, like I didn't feel like I had a voice, and I didn't feel like nobody was really talking about the problems I was going through as a minority. And it was kind of like I saw my family, my friends going through these things, but nobody talked about it. And it really frustrated me because it was like, how are we going to fix it? What am I supposed to do? And I think now that everyone's kind of talking about it, I think it's good. It raises awareness and brings that conversation to light and has these uncomfortable conversations like you were saying you had with those people at lunch, because like if you don't have them, they're going to go on believing it doesn't exist. And I'm not necessarily saying it's our job to do that, because you know Google's free, but like I think it's important when we have those opportunities to have these conversations and be like, well, I don't think it's necessarily that way, or I don't think it's necessary, or maybe have you ever thought about this? Because like if you don't, like it's just going to keep going like, oh, well, you've never faced any problems. You're fine.
Well, no. And sometimes it's hard. Like I'm at a place now after, I think I told you to, like what started this whole podcasting was 2019 when I had, that whole incident happened at the National where the guy refused me service because of my color. And he told me that. And you know, the National is a very well-known establishment here in Calgary. And I shut down for 3 years. I struggled at work, struggled at life. I just like, why? What's the point? I don't have a voice. I'm an idiot. It really affected me. And the part that affected me the most was that night at the bar, and I've mentioned this before, is to feel relevant. I pulled my phone out when I was talking to the manager to show that I mattered, because as a brown woman, I married a white guy. So therefore, I'm different because I'm with a white guy. A white guy wouldn't marry a brown girl that was, you know, one of those brown girls. I'm a different girl. And for years, I've lived with that mentality without actually realizing I live that way. And so I've been hiding in the last 3 years. I'm like, oh, I've been hiding behind white people for a long time. Like my friends, my husband, to feel accepted at social settings, and you know, when I'm going to go pick up the kids at school. And this show, what I've really appreciated is the amount of feedback, because people, first of all, I have to say, like, I did this for minorities, but all the white people love the show. Like, I have a lot more white listeners than I do brown people or Asian people or other minorities. And I think, I have to work a little harder to get the minority cultures to want to talk about these things. But B, I'm very appreciative that I have a lot of support so that I can go through this process and realize I'm not talking ill of any culture. I'm not putting my children down, not putting my husband down. I'm just recognizing that I lived a certain way, and I have to start to find what's my way and find my voice. And so the last 3 years has been about that, helping myself find my voice and start the show so that we can start to talk about the things that I feel matter and hopefully others feel. And so sitting at that bar or restaurant at lunch, that was exactly it, was taking the moment to say, actually, when you say that to me, when you say, does that really happen? Here's what you're actually saying to me. Here's what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. You're saying, I'm lying. Mm-hmm. You're saying, I misread that conversation. You're saying my feelings don't matter. Mm-hmm. And I don't need that. I just need you to be silent for a second and say, I'm sorry. Like, that's it. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Or don't say anything. Just take a minute and then take a beat and get to whatever. If you don't know what to say, we don't have to pretend. No. I don't think that matters. But that's what I loved about wanting to get you here, is sometimes we dream up needing to do something big and massive, and all you did was decide to ask people to call in and say, go Flames go, in their language. And it brought people together. Yeah. People standing outside with signs and things. Like, didn't people kind of get going? Like, it was this thing that people were talking about. And I thought, okay, this is just it. Like, what can we do in our own homes? What can you do? Yeah. What can we as individuals do versus trying to, I can't fix everything. I'm just trying to make sense of what's happening in my own lane with my family, instead of I gotta, or someone's like, you're angry. And I'm like, well, I'm not angry, but you should be for me. Like, it would help if you were. It's not that. It's just, I am asking for my voice now when many of us have, like you said, like our parents or many of us have just looked the other way. And my brother grew up in BC. I grew up in Surrey. Yeah. So where I wasn't really a minority, like on one hand I was, but in Surrey it's where like a lot of the Punjabi community lived. So I grew up around grew up around a lot of Indian people.
Yeah.
And we kind of, here it's the quadrants in the city. Out there you have Burnaby, you have all these different parts of the Lower Mainland that certain cultures sort of kind of gravitate towards. Surrey was where a lot of the Indian people are. And so I grew up very different. On one hand, there was always racism, but I felt like I didn't have to fight as hard to have a voice because there was more of us that could lock, we could play that Red Rover game.
I think that was like similar to how I grew up in Mississauga. It's very multicultural. So like in Chelsea, and my girlfriend and I talk about this all the time, where just the differences of us growing up is like I had so many different cultures in my school. Like I had people from China, people from Korea, people from Vietnam, people from India, people from Lebanon, people from Pakistan, from all over Europe, Africa, South America. And it was really a melting pot. Like there were so many times where like instead of like pizza Thursdays, I guess that's a normal thing in school, right? Yeah. We would have samosa Thursdays. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there were different prayer rooms, there were different cultural rooms. So I grew up with that in Mississauga being a very multicultural city. Not saying I didn't still face racism or bullying or stuff like that, but it was a little more like, especially when I went to high school, a little more easier to be like, hey, like there's the one group of like Japanese people who hang out together, and there's the one. So you felt a little more comfortable being like, well, I know I'm not the only one facing this because there's other cultures there I'm with. Like I have friends that are, my friend Lance, who literally came from China 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like you have these people that you're like, you can kind of just be like, all right, I know we're going through the same things and kind of bond together, which is nice to have that, because it's tough when you're like the lone person and you're kind of facing it all. But like I said, like you still face like the whole like, oh, where are you from? Yeah. Or like, no, but where are you really from? When you say you're Canada, like do you ever get that?
Okay, Andrew, I have
Sorry, I don't mean to.
No, I love it. I have my notes, ramble. And I have problem. I have where did I write the one Instagram posts? Look at how organized I am.
Oh wow!
And I have a few of your things, and I have a friggin' maple leaf tattooed on my arm right here.
Wow!
Because I was so tired of people saying, "But where are you really from?"
Oh, is that where you got it? That's smart.
When I was like, "No, it's not." It was like 20 years old. It's not smart.
If that idea came into my head, I would have done the same thing.
No,
just like on my face.
Your videotaping idea, way better.
Which one?
The one that you're talking about with when you leave the house. Like that was a smart idea.
Oh, yeah.
This was dumb because it's permanent. And I've had it since I was like 20 years old. To go with other ones that I got in 20. So where are you really from? That used to. Now I'm like, you know what? Like
now I don't get it as much.
But even if you do, it's like, I don't know. You're like, you know what? Like, I'm not like you said, I'm not going to give that up to you when I could be giving something more meaningful to someone else. So I don't want to engage in it that way.
100%.
But all the time. Where are you really from?
All the time.
When I read that on your Instagram,
so
I was like,
annoying.
Oh my gosh.
All the time. Like I remember this. I was in grade 12. And like when you're in grade, like the end of high school, you think you're on top of the world.
Oh,
you're like top of the food chain. Yeah. Nothing can bother me. I was like heating up my lunch in a microwave. And this like
so grown up.
Yeah. So I was, my mom made it for me. And this is embarrassing, but she made my lunch till college. Chelsea like bugs me about this all the time.
I make my 11 and 9-year-olds make their own lunches at night.
Yeah, I'm a mama's boy. So let's not go into that. If I still lived back home, she would still make my lunches. I'm almost guaranteed about that. So
my mom would too. I agree, but I'm not that mom. Because then you don't go away. You keep expecting mom to make your stuff.
I'm going to put him on the spot here, and I hope he listens. I'll probably send it to him. My best friend, Danny, I love him to bits, but he moved out recently, and he still goes home to get his mom's cooking all the time. Yeah,
but that's different. That's
no, but like she'll pack him containers, and he'll take...
Okay, fine.
Like he'll pay her money for groceries so she can make the...
I'm not going to fight it because my mom does that when she visits, too.
There you go.
So our freezer is full of Tupperware containers. Hey. So she'll be like, go get my groceries. You have to go to the Northeast. You have to go to Fruity Canna. Go get all her Indian groceries.
Is there good, lack of a better word, like multicultural food in the Northeast? Like a lot of good supermarkets?
Yeah. That's
what I'm looking
and
for.
In the Northwest, too. I'll get you another one because my sister-in-law my brother's wife, it's near her parents' place, and it's a different one. They had suggested to my mom, so I can get that. But so you go to the Northeast, all the good restaurants, Indian restaurants,
are up there?
The authentic ones.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Yes.
Give me some recommendations.
Totally. You like Indian food?
Love Indian food.
Oh yeah.
Well, like I said, like growing up in Mississauga, it's very multicultural.
So
of course, we had the typical Chinese food, but we would have Japanese, we would have Indian, Thai, Vietnamese. Like my mom was very great about that. She always wanted me to try, and my grandma too. She always did a thing where she would say, try it once. If you don't like it, you don't got to try it again.
Yeah.
And my mom is also very big on trying new foods. So we would eat a lot from all over the different countries and stuff, which is a part growing up there.
Yeah.
Because like I learned so much, and I grew up loving like goat vindaloo and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
You know, when I was down in the T-Dot area in the summer.
The Six.
I just met the Six.
There you go.
Oh my God, it's Drake. Yes. You know what? I
could go into that for a while, but
well, I can go into that too, so we might. But I will say before I tell my other story, which I'm going to forget, I went and took a picture in front of Much Music because my childhood dream was to be a Much Music VJ. And then Hannah Simone was the brown girl that became the Much Music VJ, who you may know from New Girl.
Shouts out.
Shout out for sure. Like,
wait, was she on Much Music and then New Girl?
Yeah. Well,
wow.
I think she did other things, but yeah, she was on Much Music. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And Rick the Temp was my like biggest crush ever.
Oh, Rick the Temp.
So when I went to T-Dot this summer, I took a picture in front of him. I was like, I'm a little late to the game, but
I didn't know she was a VJ.
Yeah,
that's
she was.
From VJ to like the biggest show ever.
Yeah, well, but she. That's amazing. I think she did other things.
Yeah, of course.
Because this was my day, and I think I have some years on you. Right, probably, right? Like what, 10 years?
I don't know. When were you born? Probably.
Well, I'm 41 and a half.
Just 10 years.
Just 10 years.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm born 92.
90. Okay, yeah. There you go. So I was 81. So we grew up on Much Music.
Yeah,
watching
same.
And Snail Mail when you send in your requests.
Well, I didn't have friends, so nobody sent me mail.
No, I'm not. I'm with you. I'm saying you would send your requests in via mail.
No, I did grow up with Much Music, but big for me was like MSN.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You probably were like
ICQ was what started my really like unsafe chat talking. I don't know how I survived. I'm sorry, Mom and Papa, if you're listening. But
so were you in, I don't mean to cut you off, were you in college when Facebook came out? Like college, university?
You know what? I had finished college when Facebook came out because I was working I was 18, where I started 18 years ago, and one of the frontline staff was like, we got to get you a Facebook account. I was the team leader.
Like, what?
And I'm like, what? Yeah. I was super young. I was like 24, 25, but I social media is just not, I can't do it. I'm trying to get into it, and I saw that you got like a bunch of TikTok. Weren't you like trying to reach 1 million TikTok
views?
And you did. You got that, right?
A few times.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, see, that's a humble brag.
Oh, it's a good one. I'm excited for you. Every day I'm like, oh look, I have one more follower.
See, that's all that matters.
It just takes one day at a time. Yeah. That's all it is, right?
One step at a time.
Yeah. See, and now I forgot the others. Oh, I was going to say about the Ontario folks. You've mentioned this a few times about the culture. And when I was there this summer, I was at a wedding, and I had asked one of the locals about like, what's it like living out here?
Yeah.
And they said the exact same stuff that you're saying. They're like, there is no racism. They're like, we don't. I'm like, you can't say there's no racism. And they're like, well, we're brown and we're saying it. Yes, it's there, but he's like, it's inclusive. People really care about people around here. They care about cultures, or like I feel that they said they felt that their community has a voice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is different.
I think like you said, there definitely is racism, because I've faced racism everywhere I've gone, but like I think there's just more there's so many people there.
Yeah.
Like I Googled it not too long ago. Ontario has 14 million people. The GTA alone, I think, has something crazy. Not the GTA, but the southern tip of Ontario, where a lot of the GTA is, has like 80% of the country's population. So there is so many different people coming from and from a lot of people that I've talked to who have immigrated here, especially recently. They'll start at a Toronto or a Montreal and then branch out. And so there's so much there, and like there's so many different like growing up, even going back home, Chelsea knows there is a Middle Eastern grocery store near where my parents live that used to be like just a Michelangelo's, and now it's like because and then my mom loves to go to like Eastern European grocery store called Starsky's. It's like Polish, Ukrainian people go there, so it's like there's so many different cultures of people who have immigrated into the GTA. That there's like you feel I think the best word would be you can feel comfortable so easily because there's a grocery store for your food.
Right.
There's community centers for your events. Yeah. There's little places and groups that you can go to. So it's really easy to find that. Yeah. And speaking of TikTok, and then also like speaking of feeling comfortable, I think Calgary gets a very bad rap in a sense of. Like I posted I always do lighthearted TikToks, but I posted one just talking about the differences between Calgary and Toronto. It was very lighthearted, but like somebody commented and was like, "Oh yeah, like, but Calgary is like the racist capital of the world." And I was like, "Yeah, well, that's not true. I think racism exists everywhere." Yeah. But like, I think people don't think how don't think and know how diverse Calgary is. Like, there's so many different languages here.
There are. I just think that it's. And I don't mean to cut you off. I would agree. There's lots of communities. I just feel and I've been in Calgary for 20 years now. It's just not open though. I have never felt comfortable living, and I've been here for 20 years. And when my kids were born, I was like, okay, now it's time to start calling Calgary home because I'm never moving back to BC. And I'm happy being here, like, to be honest, because Calgary's been good to Carrie and I came out here 20 years ago. It was like the boom. We sort of were able to build. If we were living in BC, we'd all be living in my parents' basement still. You know, like there's no way we could afford anything out there. But I've always struggled with people not understanding culture in a way that when they ask questions, they're like, why are you asking me that?
I get that. Yeah.
Like, why are you asking me if I'm wearing a costume? Yeah. That's an Indian traditional, like, how do you not? And just coming from Surrey where people were like, oh, I can't wait to go to this Indian reception because it's like, you know, I can't wait to wear the Indian clothes, to here where people are like, why are you wearing that? Or sometimes I felt like I was a clown in a clown costume showing up in the grocery line. Like people are like, who's this? Yeah.
Like at least in my experience, Ontario, and this is why I say that, and this is why I said that to the response to that comment, is like, I faced it everywhere to the same, you know what I mean? Like I get followed in stores in Ontario and I get followed in stores here. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like
that's because you're a superstar. Are you sure they don't want your autograph?
Well, like my dad, thank you. I'm not, but like my dad in Southern Ontario got stopped for speeding, and the cop pulled the gun on him. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's these. Back in Ontario, I got called into the police office when I was in high school because the person who robbed this other kid I went to school with looked Asian, and I quote, "So do you." So you did it.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? So like I faced it. I think to set the scene, I faced it everywhere. Yeah. And I think here, and I think you kind of prove you're an example of proving the point that I'm trying to make here is there's racism everywhere, and I'm not saying it's good or bad anywhere else. I think it's a world problem, but I think Calgary is so accepting. I think the good for me, and this is the point I was making in that response video, is that the good outweighs the bad. Like you're somebody who's paving a way because you're like, I face racism, I'm going to speak out, I'm going to do this. That's amazing. And you live in Calgary, and there's so many people like that I've met just like you that are also doing the same. Right. Like I know we've gotten in touch with a huge community. I know this woman named Alice. She's big into Chinatown and trying to revitalize that and keep that going, and very big into speaking out. And there is a big community of people like that here in Calgary that I in my at least experience, I haven't seen anywhere else that they're really working hard to make it a thing. And then, for example, going back to saying Konnichiwa, that's been so accepted here than I think it has been anywhere, or would it be anywhere else. Like I have people like coming up to me like that are Caucasian saying Japanese words. I have people calling me up saying, I Googled how to say Happy New Year's in Japanese, and I've been practicing it for 10 minutes, so I hope I do it all right. Like that sort of thing. Like I think the good here, for me personally, it's not has outweighed the bad so much, because for me, I have faced a lot, like during the height of the pandemic when they were beating up Asian people, I was followed home to my apartment. So like I have faced racism out here for sure. But like the good, I think, has outweighed like the people that really want to help, the people that really want to try to learn. Like you said about that whole bit of me saying, different cultures' words. I had so many people reaching out from those different cultures, like endless, being like, I'm so glad to hear my culture represented. And so many people that were not a part of those cultures calling like, wow, I didn't know Calgary was so diverse. And I think that was the point I was trying to make, is Calgary is way more diverse than people give it credit for. There's so many communities out here. Like I learned recently, like over 33,000 people of the population, their main language at home is Punjabi. Over 23,000 people at home, their first language is Mandarin. You know, and you would never think that when you think of Calgary. I think
you don't.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
We have one of the oldest Chinatowns in Canada.
Right.
The first people who built Calgary were Chinese people.
I didn't. I didn't know that the Calgary downtown Chinatown is one of the oldest ones in Canada.
One of the oldest ones in Canada, and it's the third.
Wow.
Yeah, because they kept getting forced out by Caucasian landlords that didn't want them around. Yeah. So they finally bought that land that's there. They bought that, so they own it. That's their land. Yeah. So they couldn't get forced out. So that's the third one, and one of the oldest in Canada. So I think like when I say that is like I've definitely faced a lot of racism and a lot of things here for sure. But I have in other places as well, but I feel like here it's very accepting. The thing I do love back home in Toronto, I always have and always will, it's my home. But I feel like just in general, and not like this has nothing to do with racism, but just in general, people are more willing to help you here.
Yeah.
Whereas in Toronto, and Chelsea's noticed this too.
Is Chelsea, are you from
She's born and raised here, yeah.
Oh, you're born and raised in Calgary?
Yeah, that's I met her here.
Such few original Calgarians.
I know, it's a unicorn.
It's so nice
She's a unicorn.
Yeah, you are a unicorn.
So she's noticed that like going out there, everyone's kind of just their own. They're in their own. If you're not part of their life, they don't want to, you know, like I got mugged, beat up, face stomped on. And I went to like 3-4 different groups of people until I finally saw someone that would let me use their phone. Calgary, I slipped. Guy's out of his car trying to be like, you okay? You good? You know what I mean? Like and like I think it's here it's more of a community of, and this is what I've noticed in Alberta, is people are willing to help. The good people are willing to help and live a hand. Whereas Ontario, everyone, and I love them, and there are people out there willing to help, of course, but especially in the GTA, everyone's kind of just A to B. Yeah. You know, they're trying to get to where they got to go. Yeah. They're trying to, you don't really hear too many thank yous, excuse me's, opening doors and stuff like that. Right. Like everyone's just trying to, here it's like I'm walking a mile to the door and a guy's holding it for me waiting. Just awkwardly staring at me.
That happens. I know. You know sometimes you've
like,
been there too, right? Where you're like, what do I do?
Canadian standoff. You know, you're like, so like,
late for your movie now.
I think that's my at least my experience is that I have faced racism here. I'm not saying it doesn't exist here, because it definitely does, and there has to be work done. But I'm just saying people like you and other people we've met are doing that work. Yeah. And I don't see that necessarily because I'm not living there, but like I see it so full here that people are really trying to change course.
People want to make a difference. And I think that sounds so hopeful. I love hearing that's your experience. And I love hearing it too, because you've only been living in Calgary for how long?
6 years. No, 5 years.
So it's like, you know, sometimes at work I would say this when you'd have a new staff come in, like you have this gift that only lasts so long. It's that fresh eye perspective until you become part of the culture. Yeah. So it's nice to hear you with, you know, kind of on the outskirts, living here long enough to know, but also not been in it for so long to be like, there's never going to be change. I think that's lovely, because you're right. That's a hope. And you're doing it too. Like you said, you have all these people calling in. Yeah. Right. So I was going to go back and ask you for a second, like, because you mentioned Konnichiwa.
Yeah, I ramble. Just stop me anytime.
We both do, and that's good. I love it. To be honest, this will be the first episode where my guest talks more than I do, because I interrupt all the time. I got called out by my brother the last taping. That's funny. He's like, "Stop!" I'm really bad at it.
No, I do. And Chelsea's sorry. I mean, he
that's great. Good.
But Chelsea knows. Like, I'm very passionate about like this sort of thing, like racism and stuff like that. Very passionate about it. And also, like, I really do love Calgary. Like, I think it's a great city. In like any city, it needs work. But like when I first moved here, and I'm getting off topic, so hold your topic.
I will. I'll hold it. Yeah.
But like when I first moved here, Mayor Nenshi.
Yeah,
like, that's crazy.
I want to get him on the show.
I've never. You should. I've heard he's amazing.
He's gonna be my brave email on Monday.
I have never do it and then send me a screenshot. I've never been to a city where like the mayor is a person of color.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
In Calgary, though, of all places. You would expect that in BC, maybe, or even Ontario.
This was my point.
Yeah.
I think this was my point of people don't understand how diverse it truly is. And I think by saying Calgary is like quote unquote the most racist or whatever, it's discrediting the people of color here who have worked so hard to change that narrative.
Well said.
And I think that's what burns my bones when I hear that, because like I know the difference. I know the people of color here and people are just allies trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think Mayor Nenshi is a great example of it.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
He's the first in North America at a major city.
Yeah.
Now, like, point to another, you know what I mean? Like, if Calgary, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying Calgary isn't bad. Trust me.
No, I'm not. I think you can let that part go now, because I think you've done a really nice job balancing it. And I really hear what you're saying is there's a lot of work to be done. However, let's also acknowledge what has been done. Yeah. And I needed a reset, and I appreciate that, because sometimes we just need someone to help rescript and reset. You're kind of in your own little world doing what you're doing, and you sort of need to step back and have the bird's eye view to say, am I really catching everything? Yeah. And for you being a little bit newer, being on the radio, being a minority as well, having feedback from others and saying, I see people trying, you can hear people's voice. Yeah. You can put, your ear out and hear people trying to build their voice. And that means that in order for someone to feel diverse, to be part of that, you also have to have the other side where people are accepting. And so it sounds like we're at a place where we could make some good change.
Like you definitely need more, like for sure. And I think that's the work you're doing is great.
Somewhere, right?
Exactly. And I think just another example of a thing that I saw recently, not too long ago. So there was a park in near Chinatown called James Short Park. And James Short was notoriously racist against Chinese people, but his park was right beside Chinatown. So they recently renamed it, and after a lot of community pushback, and before they did, they had a person at the Asian community here in Calgary put up signs that said things like James Short was a racist and stuff like that. Wow. And I was like, I have never seen that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and the city of Calgary put those signs up, designed by a person of the Asian community here in Calgary. And I thought that was an incredible step forward. And there needs to be many steps like that. But I think like that's just an example of, and I don't mean to keep reading the same point, but I think like just saying there's so much bad here is taking away from the people of color doing great work. Yourself. Thank you. You helped inspire this. No. Good thing I was listening to the show that day. And that's what I wanted to ask you was when I hear you say Konnichiwa on the radio too, like what does it mean to you to be able to say that on the radio? Great question. So I can't take the credit for this or even the whole Calgary Go Flames Go thing. I have to give that to my boss.
Okay, that's fair.
Both bosses, because it was Konnichiwa was his idea, and so was the Go Flames Go thing. So I got to give him major credit for that, and I also have to give him major credit for being so accepting to wanting me to show that I'm Asian and pushing me to find that and pushing me to, like, my boss loves Konnichiwa Calgary. Like, he loves that I say Konnichiwa. He comes into my office every day and says Konnichiwa. He asks me to teach him different words. Like, he's so accepting, and everyone that I work with is so accepting about it that it gives me the courage to do and say that sort of stuff. So to round back out to Konnichiwa, for me, this was probably the 2021, kind of like a little bit, 2021, kind of the little height of the pandemic. We're still doing meetings on Zoom and all that. And I remember I had a meeting with my two bosses, Chad and Tyler, and we were just talking about like where I want my career to go. I wasn't doing afternoons at this point. And they were like, what do you want to be known for? And I was like, I don't know. That was like, my first was like, I don't know, like that I'm Andrew, that I like to have fun. And they're like, no, what do you care about? What do you want to be known for? I'm like, and to make a full circle, when I was talking about when I was younger about how I always felt like my voice wasn't being heard and I wanted a way to express how I was feeling about these things. It's like, well, I really want to, and this is something I was probably made aware of in the pandemic, was I am one, if not the only Asian announcer on the commercial radio here in Calgary, and one of the only in Canada. And so I was like, I want to be a bigger representation for that. There's a huge Asian community here in Calgary that I don't think gets enough shine. And I'm one of the only, so I feel like I'm wasting my voice if I don't do something. And he was like, and we were trying to come up with ideas. And we, like you first said when we first started this, you're like, it's hard for someone to know what you look like on the radio. And so probably until I started saying my full name or Konnichiwa, everyone just assumed I was Caucasian.
Yeah.
And my boss Tyler was like, why don't you start saying your full name, Andrew Uyeno? Then at least it gives you that. And then my boss Chad was like, do you know any Japanese words? And I was like, barely, like skoshi, that means little. And it was like skoshi. My grandma taught me that. Skoshi, like tiny bit. And he was like, well, do you know like hello, good afternoon? I was like, yeah, konnichiwa. So that's where that started. Aww. And that for me has been huge because it is selfishly, it has made me feel like I am being a good representation and I'm at least trying. Before I didn't feel like I was trying. Now it feels like I'm really trying. And I feel like, I've had people come up to me like I was at a Global Fest. We were at Global Fest in the summer. I did a few emceeing there. I love Global Fest, by the way. But I was there, and it's always a lot of fun. But there's a lot of different like cultural dances and performances that happen. And there was the Japanese dance group, and they come off, and the mom comes up and goes, are you Andrew Uyeno? I was like, yeah. From Virgin Radio? I was like, yeah. It's like, oh, like, we love you. Like, you say Asian words on air. And her 13-year-old daughter, like, almost cried. She was like, oh, my God, like, you make me feel so seen. And I think that's the biggest part.
Well, that's like my 9-year-old. I told you, my 9-year-old, they were supposed to go for lunch before hockey.
Oh, I'm so sorry because we were late.
It's okay.
I was late, by the way. I'm putting that on the record.
He's like, I'm waiting to meet Andrew because he asked, he's like, can I see what he looks like too when we drive home? Because... and it's funny, Terrence, like all his life, people have thought he is Asian. Half Punjabi, half white baby together mix somehow comes out looking Asian. Asian people have always loved him. It's so weird as a baby. Like, can we hold your baby? And then he's always, so he even says, he's like, yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm Asian. Yeah. So when he saw you as well, I seriously think he connected more to you than maybe even seeing like an Indian guy. And so you have a 13-year-old, you have a 9-year-old, you have young people that are listening, you have conversations, like the car is such a therapeutic place to have a conversation. And I learned this when I was doing work back in the day with clients that lived in our residencies. And so staff, and we would take them, young people, for a drive. And it's therapeutic. And I'm sure you probably feel it too. You're not looking directly at someone. You're looking out. There's lots to do. You're busy. So you can sometimes feel like you're managing your anxiety and your emotions when you got a bunch of different things going as you're talking. Yeah. So it's a great place to have a conversation. And I think when you're on air in the afternoon, pickups, drives, all that, it's a really good time. It's like a solid time that you're on because people are in their car a lot around that time.
And my thing is like, I just want it to be comfortable. Like I growing up, like we were made fun of for, the way that for Japanese language or Chinese language or whatever. We were made fun of that by other kids. You know what I mean? The typical, I don't have to say it, but so I think being able to take that back and be like, well, I hope that some kid like me growing up hears that and is like, wow, he's doing it. It's got to be cool. Yeah. And because like I know when I was younger, getting teased a lot for being Asian, it makes you want to not be. And I think my goal is to make those young Asian kids or anyone just like feeling different to feel like, wow, that's cool. He's doing it. He's proud of it. I want to be proud of myself 100%. Too. And I think that's a huge thing. And if it also like bridges the gap of other people trying to learn and educate, that's also huge too. And just by more people saying a different culture's language makes people feel comfortable.
Totally.
So I think that's huge. And
it's inclusive. How did you? Because you mentioned a few times in childhood, it at times seemed like it was lonely. Yeah. Maybe are you an only child too?
Only child, yeah. Spoiled.
So you have that. Oh yeah, you only children. I know.
That's why mama's boy.
There you go. Yeah. That's why she makes you your lunches. Yeah. Right? So you're an only
still
child.
Sends me vitamins. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Does she still send you vitamins?
Oh yeah. All the time.
All the time.
All the time. everything. Chelsea sees it when we go back home. She was like, "Oh my God, your mom does everything for you."
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah. Yeah.
She's great.
I can't. I feel like I want to like make fun of you, but I can't because my mom will also mail us packages.
Yeah. So my mom still does that to this day.
Right, like masking tape. But this is Kieran's. This is Carrie's.
Yeah. I was gonna say Chelsea shouldn't say anything. She sends them stuff too now too. Yeah.
Well, that's right. So my brother's wife. And it's funny. My brother's. He was the first one through all of our cousins that married an Indian girl. Like all of us have also married. We have very different cultures. Like all our partners are not Indian. My brother's the first one in a long time. So his wife comes to our family, and it's so funny because we grew up different.
Yeah.
And so even sometimes she'll say, "Oh my gosh, like your mom sending all the packages," because as soon as they started dating, before they got married, she would put something in there for her as well. So we have like 100 toothbrushes and deodorant and all sorts of things because I think it's just ways moms want to connect and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you. See, look, I'm doing good. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
It's a good test. Is childhood? You talked about times you were alone, you were lonely, and also the different messages of am I Asian, am I not Asian, people telling you different things. How did you get to just a few minutes ago where you said, I want to help people have space for that, have that voice, whether I'm saying Konnichiwa on the radio or what? Like how did you get through that? Not very many people or would say that, it's something that they've successfully been able to work through, or maybe you're still working through it. I don't know. But how did you get to where you are now? I
think it goes back to what you were saying at that lunch where you were saying you were not angry and you're not angry, but and I reverse on that. I don't know if it's healthy, but I am angry. I am upset about it. I am upset about the way that I was treated. I am upset about the way I get treated. I'm upset about how my grandparents were interned. I'm upset about how my dad's been treated. I'm upset about how people of color get treated in general, and that's why I rant about it a lot, and that's why I talk to my dad about it a lot, and I have very big conversations about it in my personal life because I am angry, and I think I'm not someone who, I think hurt is probably a better word, but I'm not someone who just yells and gets mad, and that's how I deal with anger. I think the way I deal with anger is I try my best to process it, and then I try to figure out, okay, now how can I change things so I'm not angry and so other kids aren't angry about this, and maybe my future children won't have it as bad as I did, so they're not as angry as I am about it or as hurt I am about it. And I think that's something I grew up always wanting to do, and I never knew the right avenue to be like, well, how do I channel this anger and try to make a way open? Because I found, and I don't know if you found this too, I think talking about racism with people who not necessarily notice that you can't, in my personal opinion, you can't fight fire with fire. So I think that's why I use my anger to just yell about it at home when things happen, and then I'll channel it into something that's like Konnichiwa, or channel it to sharing things in the community, because I think that's the better, in my opinion, better way to face it and teach people about what's going on than if you were just yelling at them.
Well, influence, right?
Yeah.
Isn't going back to saying that superpower, that's so powerful to influence people. And you could decide if you want to influence the not so great, the dark side way, or the other.
That's what I mean. I think at least for me, positive. When I see people yelling at other people, oh, you shouldn't say this, shouldn't do that. If I get yelled at, I'm not going to necessarily start listening to your opinion. You know what I mean? I'm going to be oh, why are you yelling at me? It's the fight or flight.
It's becoming about that now.
That's
right?
what I mean. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I've never really tried to fight it with anger, because it doesn't really, like you did at that lunch, you didn't fight it with anger, because that's not going to help her look into more about educating herself about racism. Because if you yell at her, she's gonna be like, "Wow, that person,
stupid Indian girl.
I don't like her." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't educate people. For example, I had a listener. Oh God, maybe in the summer, he called me, and typical. Well, not called me, he texted me, and he typical, not typical, but he's a roofer, probably in his 40s, and he was on the roof, and he was and I was just doing my regular show, and he text me, and he was like, hey, can you stop saying that Konnichiwa? It's really getting annoying. You're really the Achilles heel. He was actually great with words. Achilles heel of the station or whatever. And and something I've learned is a lot of people, when they lash out like that for no reason, it's usually they're dealing with things in their life, and that's why I love to that's why I love to fight hate with positivity. So I called him, and basically I just said, "Hey, this is why I say it. You don't have to fully be on board or whatever, but this is why I say it, and I love you, and thank you for listening. I hope you're having a great day." And we hung up the call. Didn't really know what to think about it. He texted me in. He was like, "Andrew, I'm sorry."
Wow.
He was like, "You're right. We are." And I called him my friend when I were on the call. He was like, I would love to consider ourselves friends. And he was, "I'm so sorry for that." And he was, "You're doing a great job," or whatever. And now every now and again, he'll text in "Konnichiwa, Andrew," or he'll text in "Arigato." But if I had fought that with fire, he was never going to do that.
Oh yeah, you'd be falling into the trap that there's a reason why someone's putting that out there.
But because I don't think he was necessarily trying to be mean or whatever. I think he was just going through things and he needed a little bit of positivity in life. And I don't know if anyone else was giving him that day. And because I did give him a little love, he was like, "That's really nice." And now like he is a great guy. And I think people just get in that little like that bout of whatever's happening in their lives, and I think a lot of times it's so easy to fight it with fire, but then we don't remember, wait, what's going on with them? And if I give them a little kindness, maybe they'll show me kindness back.
Right. Do you feel like sometimes you have a little more pressure because maybe you are feeling upset or you have emotional reaction to it, but you're also a public figure and you're trying to help be part of this change? Do you sometimes feel pressure, like what you would really want to say or how you really feel versus, I know that this isn't the good and right thing to do. The good and right thing to do is what you did, which was reach out to him?
I think, well, I'm a pretty positive person in general and pretty like trying to be nice. So I think
Is he Chelsea?
Yeah,
She's nodding yes.
Yeah, so I think my avenue is always like positivity for the most part. So I think
how did you keep that? Like, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, my mom.
Look, this
is pretty
your
positive.
Fault. But like as a kid, you're not growing up. It doesn't sound like that. I mean, it sounds like happy stories with your family, but you're lonely. You're an only child. You don't have siblings to fight with and distract you and beat you up or vice versa. Up and down with friendships at school, right? So you're kind of filling your time with these things and you have a lot of time to yourself to think about things. Yeah. And you even said, I do have anger. I think that's fair. You do have anger. And so yet you're still choosing to go about it in this other way. And it seems so simple for you to sit there and say that. But I think for a lot of people and the few that listen, I don't think that's always the case for us. Like it's sometimes feels like you're defeated because you're like one more person or one more thing. How did your childhood shape you to be this positive person when your story should be a little bit different, I think?
Well, my parents are very positive. My mom's very, very loving, and my grandparents too. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is like my grandparents never complained ever about even all the racist things that they went to. Never ever once complained. Never heard my grandpa complain once. Never complained about being in the camps. Never, not one complaint. And I think that.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's probably a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest thing is that they didn't want it to shape who they are, and they wanted to control the narrative, and they wanted to make a way for their family, and they wanted to show their family, we're strong, we can do this.
And there's being survivors, right? As we're hearing.
And I think in that mindset, when people do a big flip like immigrating or whatever, you got to be positive to make that move. Because if you're not in an optimistic headspace, why would you move to somewhere if you think it's going to be a pessimistic experience, right? So I think to make big moves and big jumps like that, you have to have some glimmer of positivity. And I think that from my grandparents and my parents always being so positive. Like my parents have struggled with like job loss and stuff through the years. And I think they were always positive and always like things are always going to work out because I have learned that like love can move mountains and hate just builds you a bigger hole. And I think the deeper and deeper you get into that hate hole and that echo chamber of hate doesn't really get you anywhere. No. And I think it's important, and I've learned this from, shouts out to my favorite artist of all time, Mac Miller.
Yes.
Yeah, it is important to feel, he said, and I don't want to butcher his quote, but he said, I never want to live a life where I just feel happiness all the time. I want to be happy. I want to be sad. I want to feel jealous. I want to be angry. I want to be excited. I want to feel all the emotions because that's a human experience. So it's important, and I'm trying to learn this, and I have been trying to learn this, that it's important to feel anger. It's important to feel sadness. It's important to feel that hatred, and then process it for a bit in your own way, let it go, and then push forward with your optimistic and positivity, because you won't, and love, because like you won't be able to open a door. You won't be able to open a door that's on fire with more fire, but you will be able to put it out with water. So I think like if you...
Just so you know, metaphors and analogies there's a picture behind you called Kiranisms.
Yeah.
I'm like the worst at them. So I love that you've been throwing them out today, and I'm like, I think I can...
Just makes me smell smarter. Feel smarter. But I think like growing up with that, I've learned that, and I've been bullied. I've seen the darker side of things, and I was like, and I've realized, and from my parents, they're always like, treat people the way you want to be treated, and give them respect, and you'll be respected back. And
so simple, and yet so true.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's
if you go by that,
that's what I mean. Yeah, like if and I've learned that, like, I don't like to be, and no one does. No one likes to be like someone to be mean to them or bullied or whatever. So I've realized, well, if I just give love, they like that a lot more. And so like I think I try to do that with everything, is give everybody love and give everybody time and positivity, because I don't think hate's ever got me anywhere. I don't think anger's ever got me anywhere. Whereas positivity, and I've seen it in my parents, and I've seen it in my and that's why they're still together like almost 40 years, and that's why I saw it in my grandparents, is that like through all the stuff, they could have been all really angry, they could have been really upset. My dad could have barged down my mom's parents' door and be like, why are you doing this to my wife? Why are you doing this to my kid? He could have done that, but where would that got him? You know what I mean? So, and I think it is sometimes, and I tell this to my best friend, I think it's sometimes better to hold your head held high, and sometimes not always say something back when you want to, because that's harder. It's harder to hold back certain things you want to say.
100%, yeah.
That it takes a stronger person to be able to keep that inside and be like, that's not a smart move.
Right.
You know?
Well,
it's easy to spit fire.
Very true too. My grandpa used to always say that too. Just because you're talking loud doesn't mean
doesn't mean you're saying anything.
Exactly, right. And I think that's the, like you said, fight, flight, or freeze, our back of our brain stepping in a stressful situation. And I think that's sort of what I look at with the kids, because I wouldn't necessarily say that's how I always looked at things. And I think in the last, I hit the 40s recently, and
congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm, like I said, 41 and a half. I'm, a year and a half in.
There you go.
And it was a congratulations. I do appreciate that, because I think I'm learning from a friend's mom that every decade we enter, it's an opportunity to learn something new about ourselves and others. And it just builds the wisdom. And I think hitting the 40s, you start to look back and you think, okay, like, I don't know what the rest of the future is going to hold. I have my health right now. And so what do we do that's going to be productive and for our family's best interest, versus holding on to some of these nasty things and these hates? Because I have to say I've been feeling a lot lighter lately, right? Just like thinking it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. Just like you said with like the roofer. Yeah. If you look at him that way, you know that there's something going on in his world. He has he has his experience to say what he's saying, and we can go along with it and call him whatever we want, or to do what you did. It's not what very many people would do, right? So I think that's what makes you really special in that way, is that you're like, okay, I can call you and let me just tell you why do I say it? It's a good question. Let me tell you.
It's a lot. I think it's so easy, the way our human brains are wired. It's so easy to think of the negatives and look at the negatives and always get sucked into that hole. Chelsea and I, my girlfriend, pointing to her a lot, but she's sitting beside me. That's why I'm doing it. You can't see me pointing either, or see her sitting there. But I think it's so easy to get sucked into that negative. It's very, very hard to always think of the positives. It's very, very hard to keep that in mind.
So how do you fuel that? Because it does take a lot of energy to be positive too. So how do you fill that bucket?
I think it's a lot about doing things that you enjoy, like simple things, like I enjoy playing video games at night. I enjoy petting our cat. I enjoy watching movies with my girlfriend. Like, I think it's important to fuel your tank with things you enjoy, away from the negative, and then wake up and take on another day. because like if you go to bed filled with positivity, you're most likely wake up with positivity. And be able to give that positivity out, and then take that time to, when you get home, and recharge it again. Because it's like, I think there's also this mindset where, like, you know, you always got to be working, you always got to be doing something. But no, it's important to sit on the couch with your pants off.
Doing nothing is
watching.
doing something.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
It's important to give your body that rest to recharge, so you have more energy to give it out again.
Do you watch TV on your couch with your pants off? Did I just hear that?
Yeah, in shorts. I do. That's my favorite thing. I don't like pants. It's restrictive. I like shorts.
I wonder if it's a boy thing.
I don't know.
My boys
is it
are
the same way?
Shorts and no shirts.
Oh, no shirt.
Yeah,
I used to do that a lot when I was a kid. When I used to indulge in adult beverages when I was younger, in like college, I was a big party take off your shirt guy. Oh. I don't know why. It would come off. Beer pong games, whatever.
There's Andrew's shirt.
Yeah, there it goes. I just don't know why.
Yeah. The heat for them, they're always hot. So I'm picturing them, because the other day the other one took his pants off. Yeah, in the living room and but he was putting on his pajama shorts. I'm like, can we not use the living room as our? Because
you guys got a lot of windows.
We do have a lot of windows. But my rule is also, because sometimes like I'm like hot too, and I'll say things like, "It's your fault for looking in."
That's
like,
true.
It's my house.
You're not wrong.
If you're gonna look in here, it's one thing if I'm standing at my window saying, "Hey, everyone," with like a huge sign or something.
Yeah, that's
true. Or a crazy costume.
Yeah. I do that a lot.
You do that a lot.
Yeah.
What's your
favorite?
Shouts
out to Chelsea.
She makes most of them.
She makes most of them.
Oh my gosh.
She's very creative. Yeah. So she's a teacher. That's why.
I was supposed to ask you this before we were recording. Do you think that you and I could do some kind of bet where we have to like raise some kind of awareness for mental health, to pick like a cause or a charity or something, and then the loser has to wear a costume that the other one made them.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not embarrassed by that.
Wow, I'm gonna look good too. I'm gonna win. Carrie's like, you know, you're gonna lose. I'm like, no, I think I'm gonna win.
I have a chicken costume in my closet.
I've seen your chicken costume.
It's in my closet.
I've seen the pink St. Patrick's Day one. No, there's some.
When I dressed up as Patrick from SpongeBob for St. Patrick's Day.
That makes so much sense now.
I don't get uncomfortable. Like, I can do it, but I would probably enjoy wearing the costume. Like, less embarrassed.
Oh, wow. Okay, but
I get embarrassed public speaking if I had to public speak.
So you have to say something.
Yeah, I'm not a good. It's funny because people always like, well, you're in radio. Yeah, but you're in a room by yourself.
Yeah.
Staring at a wall.
It's different than even when Chelsea joined, I was like, oh, okay, the nerves are up now. And then you get into it and you're like, okay, you forget about it.
Yeah.
Right? But
I remember I tried out but I tried to, Chelsea knows the story. I tried to run for grade 8 president or whatever.
I love it.
And I was terrified of public speaking. So like I stared at my paper and I read it as fast as humanly possible. So I was like, and then that was it. And I lost, which I don't think I should have lost because I was the most realistic. Everyone else that won promised like rocket ship rides and a skate park and free laptops for everyone. I'm like, we're 12.
Yeah, that's not.
No one's getting that. Why are you voting? I'm promising maybe a little extra time at the dance. Like 10 minutes, 2 more songs. He's promising a car for everyone. It's not happening. And I lost. To that. And then everyone was like, where's the skate park? And I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
We're 12. Who's building it? With whose money? It still upsets me to this day.
Seriously.
Should have won. I should have won.
Yeah. So who won?
Person who promised laptops to every kid and a skate park, which didn't happen.
Neither things happened.
No. Another fun story. This kind of relates. I ramble, so you got to check me, and I've said this a million times. But in high school, I was very much.
It's okay. We're going to keep going until we meet my goal. Anyway.
I was a class clown, and so I remember there was like high school elections, and I thought it would be funny to invent a fake candidate and get as many people as humanly possible to vote for them, which I did.
But then did they not have to like show up to speak?
No, because they didn't win.
Oh, so this
it was just enough. It was enough votes to make the person in our grade lose.
Yeah.
And not that I hated the person in our grade running.
No.
I thought it was just a funny coincidence.
Was it the same one that beat you earlier in grade 8?
No, different person. But it was just that would have been sweet revenge.
Did your fake person get votes?
It did.
You should be in politics.
Yeah,
Maybe,
like a couple,
done.
like 100 or something like that.
Maybe
yeah,
you'll
it was
need
like
to
Bob
get into
Boberson. I told everyone
Bob Boberson.
that was my first Facebook account because I was afraid people on the internet were gonna try to like come over to my house or something.
Yeah.
So I created a fake
Which
Bob
is a
Boberson.
good safety measure. Good for you to be afraid of that.
Yeah, until like everyone's like, "Who's Bob Boberson? Why is he adding me?
Who's this creep?
Who's this?" Yeah. Then I become the creepy stalker.
No one wants
Yeah.
to add. Yeah. Should have just been Andrew all
I know
along, eh?
politics.
Politics,
Nah,
yeah.
that's too stressful for me.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Just
Yeah.
thinking about like Chelsea and I talk about this all the time. Think about how much like no matter what you do, people are gonna hate you.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
love you, but
Yeah.
it's never in between. Like it's never like
Yep.
oh cool, but no matter what you do or say, people are going to hate you.
Yeah.
No matter what.
No,
Stressful.
I agree. I was never in politics, but I was in leadership. And that was my life for so many years
Yeah.
was no matter what I did or said,
Yeah.
I had to take it because I was a leader.
That's what I mean.
I can't be like, it's that guy's
Stressful.
fault. I tried that one. It didn't work. So I had to go with,
Find
it's
a
stressful.
scapegoat, yeah.
And you have to sort of like think again about big picture. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can't individually meet everyone's,
No, that's
needs.
I'm not.
Trudeau can't meet all of our
No, I know.
individual needs, just some of our needs.
And like, not that I'm into politics and not that I ever say who I vote for or whatever, but like whoever's in charge, I do always feel bad for them in a sense that they're getting it from everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what they do, they're getting
Yeah.
it. And I was like, and I think about this sometimes like, man, I wonder what their therapist is like. Because like
Yeah.
you would need to.
You do, yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
to get all
hopefully,
that
yeah.
hate.
Yeah.
And that's why like I
But
always
some
tell
people, it's a good question. What is your therapist like?
Yeah.
Some people would prefer with the ego, when the ego's in the way.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, that's true. They don't hear it.
you
They don't hear the other
You
side.
shut the door in a
Yeah.
different way. So I'm curious if all of them.
Yeah,
even have
egos.
therapists.
Egos. I could go off about that too.
Ego is we did 2 toxic masculinity episodes, and one of them was a lot of it was about ego and just like growing up with keeping up with the Joneses
Yeah.
and all that. And then for I live in a house with all men.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, a frat house, and having my brother and all,
Yeah.
because he lived with us. You and him are about the same age. He lived with us for over 10 years. He was our Manny. We call him the Manny.
That's funny.
Yeah, he helped raise the kids while we were working. And so just to be around
that.
that. Oh yeah, I wanted him on the show today, but he was like, I'm too nervous. I don't have anything to contribute.
For me?
But what he does is he does top 5s. So anytime
cool.
he's on, he'll do a top 5. Like the last one was top 5 Disney movies or whatever.
Finding Nemo,
Oh, go do it. Do it, yeah. Do it.
Bug's Life,
Yeah,
Lion King.
yeah.
I had my like 4th grade birthday party at Finding Nemo. You know this? Yeah.
Chelsea's not sure she agrees with Finding Nemo.
No.
Is that the one, Chelsea?
Finding Nemo,
Nemo,
Bug's Life,
Lion King.
Aladdin,
Yeah, of course.
and this is tough.
I know, it's tough. I know. He does this. And then he puts
I
the
would
pressure
say if we're
in his
doing like properties owned by Disney today,
Yeah, you can
Star
do that.
Wars. I would say
Well,
Star Wars.
It has to be
but-
animated.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Animated Star Wars.
But you could do
no,
you
I
could
would
do
do-
Pixar, DreamWorks.
No, there's one more. What's the other one? What's the movie? What's the Disney movie? Oh, Turning Red. There we go. Top 5.
Is that the recent one about the little Asian kid?
Oh, amazing. About a girl who grew up in Toronto. So
Yeah.
it's made by Canadian filmmakers, and it features Toronto
Yeah.
specifically, which is cool because that never gets happened in Pixar, like a Canadian city ever gets featured. It's about her life growing up in the early 2000s. So around where she was a couple of years older than me.
Right.
So it was really cool to see like all those like nostalgic little things
Yeah.
and like coming from Toronto, like they have like the Sky Dome and the CN Tower. So it was like very much like they have a Dairy Mart, and it's all very Toronto things
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, I know all these. So
Yeah.
it was nice, but it's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. My 11-year-old was driving home with me from Science Center one day with his buddy, and I hadn't watched it yet, and he had asked him, he's like, hey, Tyler, like, have you read or watched Turning Red? And he's like, oh, I don't think I've seen it. And Xander's like, it's so relevant to me. It's so relatable.
Aw.
She's Asian.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And
Yeah.
it's
Representation's huge.
totally. And I was like, I
Huge.
would never in my life expect, and I think it was 10, it was about over a year ago, or however long, a boy, 10-year-old boy sitting in the back to say that to his friend. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad I caught that because
Yeah.
it's a good reminder to me about how aware
Yeah.
my kids are in comparison to maybe what I think sometimes.
'Cause
I was like, yeah, like
Yeah.
because we didn't. Princess Jasmine was as the close.
Yeah.
But that was pushing it. And, I never
Well,
was a princess. My parents almost left me at Disneyland one time. They left me there and they forgot me. And I stood in one spot.
Just
and
walking out with all their like Mickey memorabilia. And they're like, wait a second.
Where's little Kiran? No, it was like 20 family members. As
just
we
still
do.
on the
We
teacup ride. Like,
they're on the train.
It's a small world.
No, you get this is me standing there like a little 5-year-old with my unibrow. I didn't have the mustache yet. And I'm like bawling my eyes out and no one friggin' helped me. No one helped me. And I stood in the same spot
Mickey.
Where
were you?
Yeah, I know. None of them, although I don't know how I feel about some of the Disney characters. I think we just went to Disney in October and Chewbacca walked by me, and that's Carrie's nickname for me is Chewbacca because I'm Harry. Like that's 22 years of love, guys. And I was like starstruck because it's just Chewbacca in
cool.
his costume,
It's cool,
but
though.
it was Chewbacca, and he was so kind. And they were getting mad at him as the people that walk with him, trying to get him.
He just wanted to hang it,
take picture because he's so nice. He can't say no. I was like, oh, he's doing his character thing.
That's
but
really nice.
I was too nervous. I couldn't even ask him to take a picture because all the kids were in the way. And
he probably just would have said, "Rah," So
he was doing his whatever thing that is. I don't know a whole lot about that.
No, but to go back to your kids and his friends saying like, and that's why like, and something that I've come to realize recently is representation is so important, and you don't necessarily realize how important it is. Like, just look at what things did, like certain movies did, like for example, Black Panther. That was huge.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi. Yeah. Huge. You know what I mean? But, and as some people might say, like, well, you have those, so why would you want more? And it's like, well, we just got these.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, look at the actor Ke Huy Quan. He was, you might know him as Data in the Goonies or Short Round in Indiana Jones.
I just watched
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Yeah.
Oh,
amazing movie. So
movie.
he stopped acting for 30 years. I don't know if you know the story.
No, I don't know.
So he stopped acting for 30 years because no phone calls were coming in because he was Asian in the 80s and the 90s. So he had to give up his dream.
Yeah.
And he went behind the scenes. And one day, these directors, the Daniels, who were directed the movie, just were wondering, what is Ke Huy Quan up to? Googled, hit up his Hollywood lawyer, which is Chunk from the Goonies. They're still friends, and he's his lawyer. And was like, hey, do you want to be in this movie? And he's now reliving his dream. He's nominated for an Oscar. He won a Golden Globe. And if you see any of his interviews, he's just so thankful to still be here because he thought his dream was over. And what made him realize he could do it again was seeing Crazy Rich Asians in theater. And he was like, wow, they're finally hiring Asian people.
Yes.
And I think that's what it is. Representation is not just big for kids. It's also big for adults and people who didn't grow up seeing people on the screen that look like them.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. I grew up with people, either the Asian people were the villains or the jokes.
Yeah.
And you don't get really too much in between that. And there was never really stars. Yeah, we had Jackie Chan, but name 5 others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and people say, well, you had Jackie Chan. I was like, yeah, but like I can name probably 100 Caucasian actors.
Yes, exactly.
And like if I had to ask somebody else, how many like Asian actors can you name? 10. You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
and that's why it needs to keep going. That's why so many great people, like so many great actors are paving a way. And in any like industry, like what you're doing and what other people are doing, like our mayor Jody Gondak, like just in general, right? Like representation is just so important in any industry to see, like, oh, I can do that. Because if you don't see it, you don't think you can do it.
Well, I loved acting, and I grew up. Never did anything big, just, auditions, lots of auditions growing up, but it was always for a Latin girl or a black girl. It was, and never a brown girl. And every now and then, like Shaw Cable would always do their local commercials always. And so Rogers and Shaw, every now and then, they'd have to do the whole diversity thing and have somebody of like black, Asian, or Indian. And so I'd get the audition, but I would never get the part. And then same thing, grew up seeing, everyone but Indian people. And then it's very interesting because recently I've had a new realization with Mindy Kaling. Like I grew up, well, I guess I was in my 20s, seeing her on TV in The Office and loving her, and really, really am grateful for all the work that she's done because she's had to work her butt off doing that. I just noticed though watching what's it called? Never Have I Ever?
I don't know.
It's like one of her Netflix shows.
Yeah.
It's a really cute show.
Okay.
But like the cast is Indian, but it's like a North American version of an Indian family. So then when you're watching some of these shows or you see Mindy and the Mindy Project and stuff, you're like, well, that's a brown girl living in North America, still living in maybe like the white girl's world. That's not really an Indian family, right? Do you know what I mean?
I think I do understand what you're saying, but because there's a very similar show, if you're talking kind of same concept, but of a Chinese family called Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah, I watched maybe a couple episodes when it came out. I never really watched more.
So it's about it's a real life family. Eddie Huang and how his family guy. So it's about his family growing up, and it's a very like American. He loves hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, but I think that's important because there are so many kids like you and I and your kids that are of color, but aren't from the countries our great-great-grandparents are from.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they're more in tune with the
point.
North America culture than they would be. Like, for example, myself, I grew up loving hockey.
Right.
But I didn't know much about like the stuff that happens in Japan. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really grow up watching too much anime. I didn't grow up like, you know what I'm saying? Like I love the food with my grandparents and stuff, but like I was way more into the culture here.
Yeah.
Like hip hop. Like I was way more into the North America culture because we were born here, surrounded around it, right? So I think it is important to have all aspects of the story. Like it is important to have those films picturing life in different countries, but then also having TV shows. Granted, I've never seen the show, but TV shows that depict life here as somebody of color, but living in a North American style life.
Point. That's two now. You've given
no.
Two
I don't mean that. No, but like because it's like those kids who grow up, they're like, and that's what goes back to like I'm not white enough, and I'm too white. You know what I mean? It goes back to I think
a bit different too in the way of my parents had very extreme disciplinary measures as well as rules and all that in a very different way than I would now.
Like my parents are born and raised here, right? So like
did you ever get the wooden spoon, Andrew?
No, they're very I was never really a bad kid.
Oh yeah.
I was very
Here we go.
No, I wasn't. I was very quiet. Like I did I probably got grounded once.
Yeah.
So I was
making videos in your basement.
No, I did. Well, it was the 90s, so you don't really have too many like camcorders or like, but like I did a lot of my own like Legos and stuff. Yeah, I would make some videos with friends, like whoever had like a digital camera or like Windows Movie Maker, and we would like make things on Paint. Yeah, thank you. And like when like we just like still pictures, and it was like we had to make a ton of them. But and then like when Vine and stuff came out, I was really big in that. But I think like it was different. Like your parents' way of raising you and my parents are totally different because like I said, my parents were born here. So they grew up and were raised in the culture here compared to like Japan or wherever my mom's adoptive family is from.
Right.
I have no idea.
Like you have so many more layers. Like she doesn't even really know. Hey?
No, she doesn't. Yeah. Well, it was like when was she born? The 50s, so like their record keeping is like on a Post-it note.
Yeah, totally. My mom, every person that immigrates, or at least in the time my mom did from India, their birthday was January 1st. There's always 0101.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Do you know that? Is that
no? It's just funny because it's like that's their birth. Like I heard a story of this. Who told me this? A listener told me a story of this where their mom has two birthdays.
Yeah, that's what my mom does
same
too.
thing, and they celebrate both. And I was like, that's amazing.
So
I
call her on January 1st every year for a fake happy birthday.
But
she's a March baby.
That was what we were talking about. Yeah, that's so funny. I love that so much. That's so funny. It's very unique.
It is funny. Hey,
do you want to do top 5? You want like your brother?
Oh, I don't know if he would be okay with me taking up Cam. I call it Cam's Corner with a K because he's Cam with a K.
We're gonna be Chelsea's Corner today.
Oh yeah. Oh, with the C. Yeah. Okay. Should we do one? Should we say, you know what, Cam, you were supposed to be here and you let me down, brother, and you're not, and it's my show.
That's what I would say to me personally. That's what I'm saying,
and that's what Andrew says too. Yeah. So we're gonna do a top 5. Okay, you pick what you want the top 5 to be. I have to get my pen.
Well, you mentioned the other day like rap or hip hop. I'm assuming you listen to rap.
I love rap.
I'm seeing a lot of like Biggie and stuff around the house. Yeah. So right there. I don't know why I pointed behind me, in front of me.
There.
I'm terrible on podcasts because I'm pointing to things and they can't see it.
I know, and I'm mad too because I should be like, right now Andrew is pointing at the picture.
Yeah. This is what it is.
When we start videoing it, then
there you go. But we'll you want to do that? That's good. Rap or hip hop?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you go first.
okay, Cam. And then his other rule is you can't be top 6. It's only top 5. So he gets like so aggressive about it.
I can let you do top 6. I don't care.
Okay, God, now you're going to put me on the spot. So top 5 rap, hip hop, rap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Artist,
so it's
not album.
Okay, artist. Okay. Oh, okay. J. Cole.
Oh, you don't have to put an order if you don't want to. Is this order though?
No, we don't do order.
Okay.
Even though he likes to tell us, but then he changes the rules for me. He's that guy.
Yeah.
J. Cole for sure.
It's like when you're playing beer pong and you're like, oh, there's new rule.
Yeah. You weren't part of that front?
Yeah, you
the
didn't
one
hear
where
that rule? The island? I was like, I've never heard of this in my entire life. You're making this up right now.
Okay, so J. Cole. There's so many. I have to say Eminem. I have to put Eminem in there for sure. Yeah. Ice Cube.
Okay. Huge.
Yeah, big fan. Really like him. Oh my God, there's like so many. Like, I loved Eve. I loved.
Wow.
I know. I loved her. I loved. Oh God, like it's hard. I love Lauryn Hill though too.
Okay, that's 5. That's 5.
I know, but
that's
I don't.
5.
I mean, if I don't want those to be my 5.
Yeah, but it's top 5 can change every day.
You have to lock it in. That's the other thing that he makes you do is lock it in.
My thing is, and this one people ask me this all the time is like. When people ask, what's your favorite song? What's your da-da-da? And I give the most boring answer because I'm always like, I don't know because it changes every day.
It does. Like
and that's the thing.
You're in,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So and whenever it comes to top 5s or anything, I think for me, it changes all the time. And so that's one. You want to be a top 5 today? That's your top 5 today.
Okay, fine. Yeah, because that's the other thing because Cam's thing is.
You didn't say Biggie.
I know. I didn't say Biggie and Pac.
Yeah.
Because I left them both out.
But they're not in my top 5.
But I know, it's just hard because there's so many, like this is what he says, this thing messes with you because when you leave later, you're like, oh, why didn't I say that other person? But I'm going to stick with what I did. I was going to say Common too, because Common actually got me. Common. He got me into the whole like rap, and you would like him because he's a clean rapper as well, right? You know, and at one point it was Will Smith, but I can't anymore because
I was going to say Will Smith doesn't
right now.
I get that. The whole
I know.
occurrence. Yeah.
I'm not ready yet.
I get you. Yeah, that's
But
fair.
I had a big Will Smith cutout because I used to work at the movie theaters.
Oh, no way. Yeah, my buddy has those too because he used to work at Cineplex. Yeah, he has all the posters and everything.
Yeah. I was Silver City back in Guildford.
I love it. Silver City.
Yeah. Okay, your turn. Let's see how good you do. I think
my top 5 would probably change according to the day, but Mac Miller is 100% up there.
Yep.
And then if we're thinking about things that like I first got introduced to hip hop, because I didn't really get introduced to hip hop till like I was in high school, and I had some friends who were really big into it because their older cousin showed it to them. So I would say I
love the backstory that we have with everyone because it's nostalgia.
The Locks.
The what?
The Locks.
Oh, the
so
Locks.
like Jada Kiss, Chic Luch.
Wow.
Styles P. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. That's what I first D Block. I guess you could. That's when I first got into hip hop. It was because of them. Lil Wayne would probably be on there.
Honestly, he should be on mine too because that guy's been around since he was 16 years old.
I know.
And he's a giver.
He's still killing it.
He really is.
Drake. I have to say Drake.
You're gonna pick Drake? I thought you were gonna go a whole tangent earlier. I thought it was negativity, but it's
what?
not.
No, I love Drake.
You're a big fan.
Yeah,
okay,
you have to be from Toronto.
Yeah. Did you know
can't
my
leave
brother?
Toronto not being a fan of Drake.
Yeah,
they make you sign papers.
Do they really?
Yes.
What about Bieber?
I love him though, but like not everybody does.
Not the same
I
way.
love Bieber.
Yeah.
It's not the same. No, like I think people do love him there, especially in Stratford where he's from. But like I think like man, the cultural hold Drake has on Toronto is insane.
It's his place, right? Like
because he built he not lack of a better word, but he opened the door for so many artists. Him and Bieber, of course, but Drake really because Drake was the first guy to break into the industry from Toronto or Canada, essentially so big, and then claim it.
Yeah,
a lot of people that get big, they don't really talk about where they're from. You know, like. There's a lot of people that don't know Avril Lavigne's from Canada. There's a lot of people who don't know.
Isn't she from T-Dot too?
No, she's from Thunder Bay, I think. There's a lot of people like Shania Twain. Like, there's a lot of people that will say it in interviews, but don't really claim. Like Drake's claiming it, running through the 6 with my woes. I heard people from the States singing that. I'm like, you've never been to the 6.
What that is.
You don't know what a woe is.
Go back to whatever.
You don't know what Toronto. But it's great because he opened the doors, and it's crazy, and so he has to be up there.
Also, a funny note, my brother gets told that he looks a lot like Drake.
Oh, cool.
So then that takes away me finding Drake attractive because I'm like, that's my brother.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but the way that Drake dances, that is Cam. To it, like that is who Drake's he is. Great. I just feel like they're the similar people, but I don't mind Drake. I like him. Degrassi.
I wasn't old enough to watch that at the time, but I found out later.
There was
I watched Degrassi like the generation after.
Okay, I was original version.
Yeah, see, like I didn't grow up with Drake's version, so I didn't really know about him until like he came out with.
He was cool again.
Best I Ever Had, maybe.
Yeah, that was his first radio one, right?
Yeah, it was probably that or there was another song he was really on. I forget. It was on the hook. I forget. But number 5.
Okay, so just do a recap because we went on a tangent.
Mac Miller, Drake, Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
See, now I'm forgetting.
You just had 3 then. You need 2 more.
I had one more.
Oh.
I had one, but I forgot. Well, do you remember? Oh, the Locks. There we go.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yes.
Because they really introduced me to hip hop. And then...
Last but not least.
Oh, it's tough.
I know.
It changes all the time. The one that's popping into my head, and I'm going to go with it, it was a lot newer, Pop Smoke. Love Pop Smoke.
I like the
Rest in
latest
peace, Pop
song.
Smoke.
Oh, really? I didn't know. See, I'm not caught up.
You didn't know Pop Smoke?
I didn't know he's rest in peace now.
Yeah.
What?
Did
he get shot?
This is very big in hip hop right now. Is he got robbed and killed because he posted where he was on Instagram. Yeah, just like P-Rock. P-Rock. Yeah, he also passed away the same way. It's a very sad time in hip hop. A lot of people are passing away from drugs or violence, and But like Mac Miller, same way with but yeah, no, Pop Smoke would be a big one. But I could switch them out with like any time. Like I like Schoolboy Q. I like Kendrick Lamar. Have to be in the mood. I like him. I understand the hype. Have to be in the mood. You have to be in the mood.
I don't like him now. Not that I don't like Wiz Khalifa for sure.
Yeah,
I mean even The Weeknd. I know he's not rapping.
The Weeknd. But he does sometimes.
But like
on The Reminder.
Yes, I'm a very big fan. He's got such a '90s early like that vibe. Like
Who else? Jack Harlow. I keep forgetting. He's right now.
Yeah, he did a song
the Kid Leroy.
Yeah, he's not bad. But my kids listen to him too, so I have to. I'm like, are they cool now, or am I? Like,
That's
so
funny.
I'm like trying to keep up with them. Which is it?
It switches all the time for me.
It does. It really does. Like lately, I've been loving Miley's album. Flowers. Yeah.
Great song.
Yeah.
I'm also a big Taylor Swift fan, but that's not hip hop. That wasn't the.
I know that's a different fan.
She puts on a really good show.
Does she? I have not seen her yet. What is the best concert you've been to?
Taylor Swift.
It is Taylor Swift?
By far.
Yeah?
Yeah, hands down. I went 1 year with my cousin because she had an extra ticket.
Yeah.
And she was little at the time, so I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, and it blew me away.
Really?
Oh my God.
She puts on a show, hey?
Oh, and this was Speak Now, so this was before Red.
Oh.
So she was doing, it was an arena it was arena. It was arena. It wasn't stadium yet.
Yeah.
It was, but it was like 20,000 people. And oh man, the production that goes into that show.
Yeah.
Insane. And then I bought tickets after just to go myself to her next tour because I loved it so much. I went to Red and it was a stadium tour.
Oh.
So like 60,000 people and probably more, like 80,000. And it was insane, the production.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran was there too. I saw Ed Sheeran open up before Ed Sheeran got big.
I'm a big fan of his.
He's great. I love him too.
Doing all of it
Stormzy. Another one. Oh, you never heard of Stormzy?
No.
He's UK.
Oh.
Look him up later.
Yeah.
He's great. He's great friends with Ed Sheeran. That's why he came to my mind right now.
Okay, I'm going to look him up.
He's a huge rapper.
Is he?
Yeah, he's really big right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. See, I like know my old, like the Crazy Bone Thugs.
Bone Thugs and Harmony?
That's only because I had to listen to Bone Thugs with my brother. Like that's
it's okay. Yeah.
That's
Shouts out to your brother Cam.
That's his.
What's he doing right now?
I know we should call him, right?
Yeah, what's he doing?
Actually, I'm going to go to dinner with him in a couple hours.
Oh, nice. Where are you going?
See him. To a friend's house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, to talk about how things are going, and they'll probably ask me how today was. The podcast was.
I hope it's not too long. I feel like
it's good. We're gonna wrap up. We are honestly, it goes an hour and a half to 2. I've done 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I could keep going forever too, but I also don't know if you guys
chilling
where you're
We're just
at,
going to
what
the mall
you want to do.
probably.
Are you gonna go to South Center?
Yeah,
I'm
food
gonna
court
have to edit
probably.
all this stuff out. Oh, what are you gonna eat at the food court? Chelsea, what are you getting?
No, keep this in. This is what makes it real.
What are you gonna get, Chelsea? I know, right? Hi, Chelsea.
I'm not quite sure. Hello. I'm not quite sure. I haven't been there in a while. I used to work at the South Center Mall.
Where'd you work?
I worked at Bootlegger.
Oh, yeah, that's still there downstairs.
Is it?
Yeah, Bootlegger's still there.
No, it brings back memories.
Chinook.
I used to be a barista.
Where?
Starbucks.
Which one?
Not here.
Oh,
because I only came to Alberta
5 to 6 years
for radio.
Yeah, I'm not a very good interviewer, as you know. I'm already forgetting.
I can tell it. You want me to tell that story real quick, like how I got here?
I could.
Yeah,
I can speed
round it. I can speed round it.
You can tell as many stories. Just
okay. This will be the last thing because I will probably ramble and it will take me a while to get here. But I guess.
But I do want to say one thing,
and it's too late. Yeah.
I have not met my goal yet.
Oh, perfect.
And I had one goal today. And
Okay.
all I had to do was this, and I clearly
is it at the bottom?
I failed. No, it's right at the top. I failed my interview.
No, it's not over yet.
Well,
it's not over until Andrew sings.
What was my goal?
Say something
It's
funny to
highlighted.
get Andrew's pitch. Oh yeah, I could just do that for fun right now. Okay, hold on. Okay, so let me just do a quick. If people don't, I should have done this at the very start. And shouts out to Drake. He does this all the time. He always introduces himself, even though everyone in the world knows who Drake is. He always goes, "My name's Aubrey Graham. I go by Drake." And I think that's the coolest thing, because even if you're at the top of the world, I think you should still have to introduce yourself and never expect people to know who you are, because that's where an ego comes into play. But so my name's Andrew Uyeno. I am 31. I had to think about that. I was born and raised in Mississauga, Ontario, and I got into radio because I wanted to be a sports writer. And you're like, sports writer? That's not radio.
Oh my God, is that what you wanted? Why you got into radio?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a sports writer, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And in college, you have to, in Ontario, you have to apply to 5 different schools. I applied to 3 for journalism. I had 2 extra spots, didn't know what to do. If I didn't use them, it's just a waste of money. And so my mom was like, why don't you take TV production and radio? And I was like, sure. I was like, radio? I don't want to do radio. Why would I want to do radio? And I went on the tour to my first school that I really wanted to go to for journalism, Humber College. I got into Humber College. I got accepted to everything but Humber for radio and journalism. So I went on the tour for journalism, fell asleep on the tour. I was like, I can't do 3 years of this if I can't do 50. It was bad because there was like 4 of us on the tour, and they were talking to us at a computer area, just like not that, like probably in the space like this. And I was just, I know they saw me. I was passed out. I know they probably just kept
like, this guy's
awkwardly
not gonna do
talking
this,
about their tour and their program while I was... So
thank you for not doing that today.
No, I know. So I woke. So I woke up. No. So I woke up and I was like, "Well, I can't do 3 years of this. What am I going to do?" I was freaking out. So I was like, "Oh well, I guess I'm taking radio." And first year, didn't really think I liked it. We were doing tongue twisters and stuff, and didn't really know if I really wanted to do that. Met my best friend there though. Shouts out to Danny.
Oh, that's 2 shout outs to Danny.
Yeah, shouts out to Danny. He dropped out a month before he graduated.
I'm sure he'll appreciate. I'm not editing that one out.
He's a YouTube star now, so it's fine.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he's
Look
fine.
at that.
But,
he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's doing all right. But yeah, no. So we're still talking all the time. But yeah, so I went into the second year. The second I was on air, I was like, oh my God, this is fun. I like doing this. I want to do this for the rest of my life. Graduate. Had to do an internship. My uncle is from a small town in Nova Scotia. I did a internship at a radio station in Amherst, Nova Scotia there. Loved it. Came home. Didn't know what I was going to do. Moved back with my parents. It's very hard to get your start in Toronto in media because that's like the NHL, NFL of radio. Like that's like the one of the biggest markets in North America. So it's very hard to get your start there. And so I worked at a internet radio station above a hot tub store.
Oh, right.
They would flood sometimes. It smelled like sweat because of the karate dojo next door.
Yes.
Yeah, they had tons of stairs I get it up to. I had to edit out ums and ahs. And then I was also doing a hip hop show at a local university station there that I would pay to do. And then I was doing another...
I'm sorry, like as in you dance? You do hip hop?
No, like a radio show. Radio show.
Okay,
yeah. Because so most universities have radio stations.
Yeah.
The one here at UFC.
Right.
And you can pay to be on there.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It's just like probably like a $20.
It's good practice.
Yeah, it's probably a $20 fee or whatever. But I was like, that's good on air because at the internet radio station, I was just editing out ums and ahs. So I was like, let's do that. And then I also was pushing buttons for a community radio station and a Christian radio station. Most of the shows were in Punjabi, so I had no idea what was going on, and I just had to learn. I had to learn when to flip off switches and like just when the conversation was ending or when Cool Deep wanted me to like cut it. That was the name of the show host. Great guy.
I'm Kiran Deep.
Oh no way! Yeah.
So that probably taught you, if you didn't already know, how to be attuned in a conversation.
You have to learn.
Yeah. When you have to pay attention the whole time.
You're paying attention and you learn the repetition of like when someone's ending a conversation, you can hear in their inflection.
Yeah.
And then you learn the words that are like, because you hear them again and again after every conversation. You're like, okay, that has to either be goodbye or thank you or one of the two. Right. And you start learning that. So that's how I picked up a few words. And so I did that. And then I got into freelance writing. And I really like freelance writing, like for blogs and stuff. And I did a lot of that. And I got a job at Starbucks, stopped doing a few radio stuff, got into a serious relationship, got dumped, got very depressed, didn't leave my house. I was working for like a customer service job at the time that I could do from my house. And I felt like my creativity was like not being used. And I really wished I'd kept up with radio. And then I got a random email from somebody at a radio company that was like, hey, this was 2016. And they were like, hey, you applied to a job for our company in 2014. We still have your resume and demo. Do you still want to do radio? And do you care where you go? And I said yes and no. So yes, I want to do radio. No, I don't care. So less than a month later, I was on a flight to Slave Lake, Alberta, town of 6,000 people. Dead of winter. No idea where I was going. I had a backpack and a suitcase. I hop on the Red Arrow from Edmonton, where I had to buy a ticket in the back of a casino in this like little like dark room where this lady has this plastic Walmart table out in a cash box, and I get on the Red Arrow, and none of the TVs work. The bathroom is broken, so they have to stop every so often, and then finally get dropped off to Slave Lake.
Okay, but were you excited?
This is why I really left, because I was feeling stuck and I was really sad of the breakup. And then I was like, well, if I move far away, all my problems will go away. It doesn't happen. But that was why I left. And so I got there. And I loved everybody there. Everyone that I had known there was really, really nice to me and really accepted me and really took me in, which is the running theme through this whole journey. Everyone was really helping me out. And then everyone was nice there. Yeah, they really bring you in and treat you as family. And so that's what happened in Slave Lake. And I knew I wanted to be in big city. So I was like, well, I'm going to work my butt off to get somewhere bigger. So I would do my show at 10 a.m. in the morning. No, I would get to the station for 10 a.m. in the morning, do my show at noon. I probably wouldn't leave the studio till midnight.
Oh, wow.
I'd be there all day because there's nothing else to do. So, especially in the winter. So I would be there working, sending off emails to other program directors at other radio stations. I'd be editing. I'd be getting my stuff ready for the next day. I'd be just staying there and working. And then I was only there for 4 months till when I got hired in Grand Prairie, and which is a little bigger. It's a city of 70,000 people. They have a Costco. They have a Cineplex. They have all they have like 5 Starbucks. I know. I was like, I wanted a Starbucks the next place I went, and I was like, there we go. Yeah. So
you could go work there too if you
I wanted. Yeah. So I did afternoons and promotion directing there, and I was there for also the people were amazing there. They all took me in and helped me out, and a lot of great people. Like someone I worked with, Tony. She was not that much older than me, but she was a mom and had kids, and so she kind of treated me like her other son. And so she would invite me to barbecues, and another woman named Carolee did the exact same thing, brought me in for Thanksgiving. But I remember one time I had a concussion, and Tony drove me and waited for me at the Walmart pharmacy until I figured out I got a concussion.
That must be nice for your parents too, knowing that you're so far away.
Yeah, that people that they really like that.
Did you convince Tony to make you lunches too?
She would bring me like extra avocados or anything in her lunch that
Chelsea,
she had.
do you make his lunches?
No, I actually make her lunches. I've matured. I'm older now. Yeah. So then I was there for 7 months. And then I got hired here in Calgary. I've been here for 5 years. So I wasn't in small. I knew I wanted to be in a big market in less than a year.
Yeah.
And so I worked my butt off to get there. And I think that's my biggest moral of any story that I could give is, you can make any dream possible you want, any dream in the world. You just have to work, and that is the worst, cheesiest answer. But that is the answer that I give everybody: is you can make anything happen. You just have to work really, really hard.
You have to be willing to put in the effort.
Really, really hard.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you can make anything possible. And I guess my last ending quote on this is: the people who say they work the hardest probably work the less, and the people who actually work the hardest don't say anything about it at all.
Yeah.
That's it. That was my story. That's all.
That's a good one. And you stayed right. That's good. That actually covered this whole area here about you going to different places.
Oh, God, I dropped water.
Oh, well, that's okay. We've already touched the mic like 100 times. It's like, good luck editing later, Carrie. Okay. We'll just give him a shout out here. So, okay, well.
Is that everything?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm happy.
Good. You're happy?
I'm
good.
happy.
That's what
That's
matters.
what matters.
It makes me happy.
Kieran is happy.
Yeah.
Right?
That's all I wanted to do. I ramble a lot, so it's going to be a lot to do.
No, this is good. Would you come back?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah,
Was a really confident, yeah. Well, yeah.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I thought about earlier, like we should all go out for dinner or something. Not today, but like.
Well, yeah. I mean, you,
your husband, kids.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
Really nice to like hang out. And I also want to figure
Chuck E. Cheese, laser tag.
Oh,
that's where I go for dinner. Yeah.
Well, we do laser tag for birthdays. Actually, you know where we had the most fun recently at Speeders. That indoor.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Is that how you drive your go-kart?
Yeah, that's what you can't see right now, but it's just like really badly steering.
Really badly steering. Yeah, I always do this.
Yeah.
I didn't actually go. I'm a little chicken, but I would. It was my kid's birthday party. I was like, I'm going to do my husband's adult birthday party.
Oh, that'd be fun. Also, another good idea. This doesn't have to be in the podcast. You can get it out, but just because we're chatting, Chelsea and I went to a friend's birthday party. It was in the near Marlborough, and it was like it was like a laser tag, but for adults. So so it's like you put on this vest. It's kind of like a bulletproof vest sort of thing. Like it's very like military, like Call of Duty, and the guns weigh like 12 pounds, so like actual gun weight. And you have to reload. You have to like take out the clip, put it in, and and it's
legit.
And you have like sensors and stuff, and it's you play games like you would do like I do in Halo, like King of the Hill, or try to get as many like points as possible. It's another fun like thing.
Listen, you don't have to tell me. I was a very good I'll talk about humble brag, but I was a really good laser tagger back in the day when I was 15. Between the ages of 15 to 16, my friends and I found this very small window of a time where we would go to the local laser tag place in Surrey. I think it was in Langley. And we became really good at this. So I feel like I'd be good now too, but my kids don't let me go with them.
My friends Adam and Jacob, we would go to like our early to mid 20s, going to laser tag, playing with like 10-year-olds and just winning, and like be like very proud about it. Be like, yeah, that's right. Sorry, Timmy, ruined your birthday.
Yeah, poor Timmy.
Get better. Come back next year when you're 11. Yeah.
They deserve that.
They do.
10-year-old,
not my fault. They stepped into my court.
Yeah, well, that's
on
right.
my laser tag day.
You're also teaching them what it's like to like
disappointment. Disappointment. I'm teaching it early. Parents aren't teaching it. I'm teaching it right now.
That could be a class.
You're gonna lose today, Timmy, and I'm gonna eat your cake. So you can't even have that too.
That's right. Poor Timmy.
How do you end the show normally?
Well, this is what I do. So I say things like, thank you for coming on today.
Arigato, you're welcome. I'm kidding. Arigato for having us. Yeah.
I can say shukriya.
Oh.
I can also thank Chelsea for being on today and hanging out with us. Because I made a joke earlier when Andrew and Chelsea arrived. I'm like, it was smart to bring Chelsea because we haven't really met yet, and this could be a murder house.
I texted your information to my friend Danny. Shout out to Danny. I do that all the time. I used to do on dates too.
Yay, good.
Yeah,
good.
and he does that to me. He did that to me the other day where he was like, "Hey, I'm driving this guy home from hockey, and I don't really know him. Here's his picture."
Totally, yeah. Oh, there we go. We did it. No, my yes, I got another one. Yeah. My girlfriend's going through a divorce, and she does that when she goes. Well, it's okay. She'll be okay. She has no choice but to be.
Do you mind me asking how old she is? I don't know if that's a weird.
She's 41 and a half. No, she's going to be 42 in February.
And she's back into dating?
She is.
This is so interesting to me. I love this. This is why I like talking to people.
She's good.
So is she online dating?
She is. Yeah. Her name's Amy.
What's her age range? Is she going for younger or just older?
You know what?
I'm
going to make decisions for her and say she should be open.
I like that too, but I would love to like just because I think that's so funny. Where it's like even like when Chelsea and I met, I was probably like 28, so I remember like there'd be times where I would like match up with people that were like 22, and even that is not that much, but they're like, oh my god, we're years of like just maturity. It does feel that way. I think it would be interesting. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to hear your friend's side if she's dating older or younger. Yeah.
Well, first of all, listen, I didn't grow up in the Tinder era.
Right? Oh yeah,
I met Carrie when I was 20. And we've been together for 22 years.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand. So when I talked to her, I got to understand what it's like to swipe left and right. So that was in my world. And by the time that sort of dating life came out, all the friends that I had around me weren't dating. They already had partners.
Yeah.
So now, and my brother didn't really share. My sister, like, why would he share that? So I didn't really know anyone that would be on there. But Amy's teaching me a lot.
What I'm learning or what I've learned over the years, like Tinder's more for like people hooking up.
But then there's differences. Yeah.
Bumble's more, that's where we met. Bumble's a little more relationships, and then Hinge is very relationship. That's what I'm learning from my friends and like what they've told me and different apps that they're using. But Bumble, there's differences. So Bumble, the women have to message first.
Yes.
So the guys can't message. So Chelsea messaged me first with a pre-set message, by the way. She didn't come up with her own.
So she has one
the app gave her here are 5 things you can say.
Okay, I want to know what
she
it is.
did. She hit
Hello,
one.
my name is.
Yeah. I'm gonna send this to Andre. Yeah. Oh, that's another fun.
Is your nickname Andre?
I'm gonna tell you really quick because
Are we
this is the
gonna start
last funny
calling you
story.
that
This is the
now?
last funny story. So if you notice on my Instagram, it's Andrew U92.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could look at it as Andre Wu 92.
I'm gonna call you Andre from now on.
So
Blur.
my coworker Jesse, he works at the Rock Station. Very, very great guy. So he was at a remote, and this guy came up to him and was like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of your show." He's like, "Oh, thanks." Da da da. And then he was like, "Oh, I also listen to Virgin." He was like, "Oh yeah, who? Like we work with Virgin. Who is it?" And he's like, "Andre Wu. I really like Andre Wu." And he's like, "Who?"
Andre Wu.
He's like, Andre
I love it.
Wu. I follow him on Instagram. And
Aw.
Jesse's like, "Do you mean Andrew U92?" He's like, "Yeah." So he thought, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the
love it.
funny there. And also
Andre.
Amaranth on 4th Street think my name's Andre to this day.
And what were you gonna say?
I can't say it. It's too late now.
It's too late now.
I
There's like a small window.
That second time coming back, I accepted it. I was like, yes, I am
I'm
Andre.
a Kirsten and like a Karen
There you
and
go.
like Corinne to a lot of people. Like I have a lot of fake names out
you're
there
just like,
because I'm
yeah.
just like, because like
Well,
I'm not gonna get into it
Yeah.
now.
And one thing that I wanted to mention before we finish that I noticed at the top that I just reminded now. You said my last name correctly, which is impressive. A lot of people don't.
Uyeno,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of
Yeah,
people don't say.
yeah.
Well, fun.
That's because I hear you say it.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
learned from you.
See?
Yeah.
But even then, a fun thing is I met with that Japanese family I was talking about, Global Fest. They didn't know fully if I was Japanese because Uyeno is actually not the Japanese way of saying it.
Yeah,
You might know this
okay.
too. So when a lot of families immigrate here, they change their names to be more pronounceable by North American people.
Right.
And that's what my grandma did. She thought by adding a Y or pronouncing the Y would make it more pronounceable. But it's actually pronounced like in Japanese, it's very Ueno. Uyeno, yeah. So there's a Ueno Park there and everything. It's like Smith out there.
Ueno.
At least from what I've been told. And it's a very popular last name, but without the Y. And then when they came here, they added the Y, and so she thought it would be easier for people to pronounce Uyeno, but I think that's harder. I think the Y throws people off.
Yeah, Uyeno.
Yeah, the Y throws. Yeah, I have all the vowels in my name. Every single vowel.
You have a lot of vowels.
Yeah,
you have the U's and
Uyeno.
the-
Yeah.
You could do like a whole like song on that. A vowel song.
So that's everything. I want to
that's
make sure we hit all your checkpoints.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's good. Okay, so this is what I say now.
Professional.
So I say thank you for coming on. I really appreciated having you. No, but really I am. This was, my armpits are still sweating because I was so excited to have you and be part of this. I even wore my fancy blazer today.
I know, it looks great.
I know.
No one can see it, but it's great.
I know.
Just picture a great blazer. That's what it is.
I know. Everyone knows that. The blazers are always my thing. But thank you for coming on. I'll say it again for the 100th time now.
Arigato for having us.
And for everyone else, thank you for listening. It's okay. You can keep interrupting. It's fine. I appreciate everyone out there listening. Appreciate the feedback we're getting. Like we said, we were really happy to have Andrew on and talk to us about mental health and have a bit of a fun day with us. If you have any feedback about this episode or any questions, you can reach me at MFU Podcast or at info@mfupodcast.com. Otherwise, have a great day.